Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have a crafty Halloween episode for you where I have 32 of the Halloween Dollar Tree DIYs I've made this year on my channel. Sit back and enjoy this crafting marathon. I wanted to make a bone garden, so I picked up a little skeleton foot from the Dollar Tree and a flower pot. I kind of liked the size of this one. You can kind of use whatever you can find. It is white and it has black writing on it. So I do want it to look Halloween. So I'm going to kind of reverse the colors on this. And we will just make this a black flower pot for our bone garden. And we can do something fun with it. I did just use like a little stencil dauber, sponge, and sponge the paint. I do really like to sponge the paint when I'm working with a surface like this. You could also spray paint it if you wanted. I kind of like the spongy look with a little bit of the white peeking through here and there. But I do want to make sure that I cover up all of the writing on there when I paint this flower pot. I got this idea. I was like, it'd be really fun to do like a Halloween floral or greenery, but like have bones growing out of it, kind of make it a bone garden. So I went over it with one coat, but you can also see a lot of white here on the rim of it. So I went and painted that as well. And I kind of like the snowy effect it has on it with the white peeking through, but I was worried that you'd be able to read some of those words through there since it was like a black writing on there. So I did go over it with another coat of black acrylic just to kind of cover that up a little bit more. And I want to do like some writing on this to show that it's a bone garden. I thought that would be really fun. I didn't really want to break out vinyl or anything with this one, so we're going to try to hand paint it with just a paint pen. I'm using my Ivory Posca paint pen. These are my favorite paint pens. I do have these linked in my Amazon shop, linked in the description of today's video. They are the best paint pens. I absolutely love them. And I just wrote bone, just in regular lettering. Then I went over it and I decided to make like every straight line of the letter look like a bone just by putting little knobby ends on it. The O doesn't really have any straight lines, so I didn't do it on that one. Here on the end, I'm going to make it a little bolder and then go in and make both straight lines on the sides look like bones. And then here for the E, I can still do that. And for the tips of the E, I thought it would be cute to kind of make them look like bones too. But I'm only going to do it on the bone word. We're going to have it say bone garden, but I think that looks really fun. Now for spacing, I'm going to start here with the R for garden, about halfway there, so I can make sure that everything is spaced properly. And I just spelled out garden here for the rest of the word. And anytime you're doing like a white or an ivory paint over a black like this, you're going to have to go over it with several coats to really make that pop against it. But I'm glad I decided to hand paint it. I think that kind of adds to the creepy factor of our little bone garden. And I was really impressed with how this little flower pot turned out. I've been DIYing a lot with like the little flower pots from Dollar General as well. They had those half price at my dollar store, the spring, like in summer kind of stuff. But you can still get flower pots like this from the Dollar Tree. It kind of depends on what they're going to have left. I had this in my stash. Now for the filler, I'm going to use some wood chip pet bedding. I actually don't have any pets, but I thought that this would be really good. I actually have it because I used it in a resin project here on my channel. And then I was thinking I needed to use foam for the plants, but then I realized that that's not really going to work because the foot's kind of big and I need to bury kind of the ankle. I just want the foot to stick up. So I'm really not going to use any foam. I kind of went back and forth what I was going to do, but I ended up just using the pet bedding and it worked really well. Now the foot's painted really well, but I did want it to have a little bit of a bone look. So I went over it with a little bit of antique white with acrylic and just distressed it a little bit. And it's kind of a hollow foot where I can kind of put that down in there, put some of the wood chips down inside, and you can use whatever you have for a filler. You're not going to be able to see it, but this actually worked really well for the floral in lieu of foam. And I just want to make sure that the flower pot is completely full and my ankle is buried. Then to cover the top of it, I'm going to use some of that brown floral moss from the Dollar Tree. I think that has a creepy look to it for Halloween. It looks really good with black as well. And so I just covered up the surface with that, and now we can start filling this in. I tried to find some greenery that kind of looked a little bit like dead greenery. This is kind of like a scrubby bush look, and it's not a super bright green, so I thought that would work well. I'm just going to cut that into some individual pieces. I don't want them to be too tall. And I'm just going to kind of arrange these around. So there's a little bit of this scrubby bush all over. Now this one is, I think it was called a filler bush. And I like the brown color of this one. Again, it's a little tall, so I'm going to cut each piece into two individual pieces. The great thing about this one, it also had like some like fern plants on it. It's kind of a greenish brown color. It reminds me of fall. So I thought that would work well for Halloween. And I'm going to use the fern ones too because I think that looks kind of cool with the bone garden feel of this. And we are going to add a few more bones to this besides the foot. You could also use the hand from the Dollar Tree. I liked the way that the foot looked, so that's why I chose that one for this one. But you can kind of use whatever you have or whatever you can find at your Dollar Tree for sure. And I think those two greeneries work really well together. I think that's going to be plenty. Now for the rest of the bones, I'm going to use these little plastic bones from the Dollar Tree. I think I'll use like one of the larger ones and one of the smaller ones, and we can just kind of have them stick out of the plant there in the front. They're painted a lot better this year, but I still wanted them to be distressed since the foot was distressed. So it was distressed with gray. So I mixed some black and white together and distressed both of the bones with a little bit of gray. And then I went back over it and distressed it with some antique white to get that bone feel coming out. So it will kind of match what the foot looks like. So all of the bones will look a little bit more uniform. I always like them painted. I always think they look better. And I'm going to put like the larger bone over here, kind of peeking out in the front where you can see it really well. And we'll do the smaller one over here. I chose different sizes just for a little bit of variety. But I really love how our bone garden turned out. What do you guys think about this Halloween Dollar Tree DIY? I think it's really creative and fun. You can have a lot of fun with your Halloween decor. You can really kind of mix it up with something like this. So here it is, our little bone garden. I think it's really creepy and cool. Now, I do have a little bit of coastal Halloween in my house, but I really like for Halloween, I do a lot of black and white decor. I think it looks really classy for Halloween without a lot of that bright orange. If you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and I'd really appreciate it if you would hype this video. For this DIY, I picked up a white vase from the Dollar Tree. Isn't this so cute? It's got like a little macrame feather on it, which is cute, but I don't need it for this project, so I think I'll save that for something else. I just wanted something simple, a small vase, where we can make an easy Halloween tree with items I found from the Dollar Tree. So just going to remove that sticky tag there from the bottom. Then I'm going to decorate the vase with a window decal from the Dollar Tree. This one is the perfect size. It says Boo, which is perfect for the theme of this Halloween tree. I'm just going to use a thin coat of Mod Podge here on the glass vase. And I am just going to place that on there. It's like a milky white vase, really pretty, but it made a great background there for a window decal. And I kind of like the fact that it's glittery, it's orange and white. And for the tree itself, we're going to make it with some of the Halloween pampas grass. This is the black one, and I thought we could use the branches on it just like you use a tree to hang some of the Halloween tree ornaments. I think 3 is going to be the perfect amount, so I'm just going to remove the stickers from these. You might need to trim them down a little bit with a wire cutter depending on the size of your vase. But I thought these would be perfect for the little ghost ornaments from the Halloween aisle at the Dollar Tree. I think they're so cute. And we can have some little ghosts hanging in a Halloween tree like. So I'm going to use some sand. I'm going to use a funnel so don't make a mess. Basically so that I can have a little bit of something inside the vase to hold on to the branches so that when I hang the ornaments on there, it will still be strong enough to keep them in place. So once I have that about halfway filled, I just went ahead and added the pampas grass. That looks like the perfect amount to hold this. It's really cute too. These are the little ghost Halloween ornaments that I was talking about from the Dollar Tree. I think I'm only going to use the ghost. I don't think I'm going to use the orange glitter, but if you wanted to use the orange glitter bulbs, I think it would be really cute as well. They do have little ornament hangers in them, silver and gold. I'm going to kind of match up the silver to the silver here. And I'm just going to tie them just like you would tie a regular, like little Christmas tree ornament and hang that on one of the branches. I was hoping that the branches of the pampas grass would be strong enough to hold these up, and they totally are. It just kind of depends on position of where you put them. I don't want them like leaning out too far, but a little bit is fine. So let's go ahead and do ornament number 2. If you can't find the little ghost ornaments from the Dollar Tree, they also have bats. That would be really cute too. You might have to do a different color of pampas grass though. But you could also use like the little wood ghosts and stuff like that and just paint them white. Have some ghosts flying around in your tree. So I think I'm going to do all 3 of them. I always like working in odd numbers. I think it looks better for decor. So let's go ahead and string this one too. The only tricky part of these was tying that tiny little string on these. And we have 3 little ghosts that can fly around our little haunted forest. I am just going to hang this one on the 3rd branch. I think I'll do that one more in the center. Let me rearrange these a little bit to make it make more sense here. And I'm just going to hang this one here. Very simple, a fun little spooky Halloween tree. It's kind of hard to show you because it was so large. But I will show you how this turned out. I think it's really cute. We have our little ghost and our little spooky tree just using a Dollar Tree vase. And I love crafting with the pampas grass. I think it's really fun and a really good find from the Dollar Tree. Sometimes their florals I don't think are worth the newer higher pricing, but the pampas grass seems to be a pretty good quality and something that you can always reuse later if you'd like. A little Halloween tree with little ghosts floating around. I want to build a custom Halloween tier tray. So I'm going to be using one of the black chargers from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use that upside down as the brim of a witch's hat. I want to design a tier tray that looks like a witch's hat. I thought that would be perfect because it kind of goes with the shape of a tier tray, right? When they're smaller at the top. So I'm going to be using the little wood circles from the Dollar Tree. You get 3 in a package, and I picked up 2 packages. I'm going to be using the larger circles and the medium-sized circles. And the reason I'm using 2 is because they're rather thin. And I want it to be a chunky tier tray, and they're just too thin for a tier tray. So I'm going to sandwich the little cube-shaped wood beads in between to make them a thicker piece of wood and make it much more substantial. And I'm going to custom make this to go inside the witch hat we're going to DIY, and it's going to be open in the front. I thought that'd be a really fun idea. So what I'm doing is just hot gluing the wood beads down. I like to use the cube shape if I can. Just because they're flat, they're going to glue better together to the top and the bottom of this riser. And this is about how far one package goes. They're not very long. If you can only find the circle ones, they will work too. I've done that when I made like the watermelon tier tray. It turned out pretty cute too. I think I used circles on that one. And so I'm just going to start another piece here. They are kind of tied off at the end. I'm just kind of leaving them tied off and gluing it so you can't see the string. And this one worked out pretty well for spacing. And I hot glue that one on, and I just left them strong together. It just makes it a little bit sturdier too. Now that I have the bottom of that tier done, I can go over it very quickly with some hot glue so it doesn't set up. And I also did a wood cube in the middle. And then I set my next wood circle on top, making the bottom tier. See how it's nice and chunky now? I really like that. So we're going to do the same thing here for the top tier, taking another one of the wood bead garlands. So I used a total of 3 of these chunky wood ones, and I'm going to glue these along too. And I'm just kind of gluing them where they will kind of line up towards the outside of the wood circle. This one did not work out on spacing as well as the top one, but I'm just going to kind of make it work. I went all the way around here, making sure all of the individual cubes are glued down for sure with my hot glue, and glued it cutting it off right about here. Now I noticed I had like kind of a significant gap there. And so what I did was just took a couple of them back off and spaced them out a little bit so I don't have like a big gap in between any two. And that seemed to work out. I'm going to go ahead and do another wood cube in the circle and then put hot glue over everything. And then I can lay my next wood circle on top. I'm really glad Dollar Tree started carrying these wood circles. I'm always looking for different shapes and sizes of the circle for sure. And then for the tier, we're using a plunger from the Dollar Tree because I wanted the wood dowel from it, from the handle. So I just simply took the plunger off. They do usually have pretty sticky tags on here. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And the wood types are totally different, but I'm going to stain this so it's going to make it all match. But I thought this would be great between the tiers. I'm not going to drill a hole or anything in them and put it through everything. I'm going to cut it into individual pieces. Now to stain it, I'm going to use just Antique Wax by Waverly. I get this at Walmart, really cheap, really quick, easy way to stain. You don't really have to wait for that drying process like you do with a regular stain. And I just went over the top of my tier. Now the sides were a little bit more tricky, especially using a sponge like that. You really have to get a brush to get down in between the individual wood cube beads there with the stain. And so I kind of go back and forth with the sponge and the brush, but the brush definitely worked better for the edges. And this is going to be the bottom tier of the witch's tier tray that we're going to attach directly to that upside down charger. Now the charger, it doesn't really matter what color you get, I guess, because I think they're usually black on the bottom. So I think any of them would work if you have one of those already. And I ended up covering them with material anyway, so I guess it really doesn't really matter at all. But I did want the inside of my tier tray to be a stained wood. I love like the look of black with like a stained wood for Halloween. I think it looks really classy. Now I did go ahead and stain the bottom as well with the Antique Wax by Waverly, just to make it more of a finished product. And then I went ahead and stained the top here as well, going in with the individual wood pieces, staining those as well. And this is just so easy. You just put it on if you haven't used it before and just use paper towel to wipe it off. It's my absolute favorite for staining. I never ever use wood stain. It's just so much simpler and a lot less fumes too. So I went ahead and stained both sides of this one too. This is going to be the top tier of our tier tray. And I'm also going to have like the pole go up further for the top of the witch's hat. In my mind, I was thinking I could almost put a third tier on there, but it would be just completely pointless because it would be so skinny at the top. And so it's just going to have the pole at the top. Now, this is the pole that I also stained. I took it to the saw and cut it down. Now, originally I cut it down into two pieces that were the same, so I was going to try that out. And it doesn't really work. It works for the top piece being long, but I needed the middle piece between the trays to be shorter. So I cut that down a couple of inches, and that works way better like that. Now to find the center of my tier tray, I just measure it halfway here, one side and the other to find the true center. I'm just going to mark that with a little Sharpie, and then I'm going to do the same thing, measuring and finding the center here for the top. Now I'm going to need to know the center of the top and the bottom for this one because I told you it's going to have a pole come up the top of it too. Now to attach it, initially I attached it with a little bit of hot glue. I did not think that that was going to be stable enough for a tier tray, so I decided to get a little bit of hardware involved. I didn't want to be drilling holes and screws and stuff like that, so I'm just going to stabilize it with a long nail. These are the nails from the Dollar Tree, so I went ahead and found the center here of the bottom as well, and I'm just going to drive a nail into it, and it made it so much sturdier. The only trick to this is you really need to find the center, and you need to make sure that your nail is going straight down because you don't want it to come out the side of the plunger handle. But that worked so well. So I'm going to put some hot glue here on the top, and then lining up with that center of the top circle, I hot glued that one on too. And the nail worked so well for the bottom, I'm going to use that for the top too. So I just took another nail and carefully nailed that down into the wood plunger handle there, our wood dowel. And this part is super sturdy. So this is what it looks like so far, our little tier tray. Now for the top one, I can't really do a nail because I already have stuff on the other side, but this is just gonna be kind of a top beam, so it doesn't need to be super strong. So I just attached that part of it with hot glue, and this is the structure we have, which is also the structure of like a witch's hat, so perfect. I went ahead and glued it to the bottom of the charger here. I end up covering the charger with material and I do end up having to remove it. But at this point, I thought I was just going to leave it black, but I ended up covering it with the same material I used to make the witch's hat, which is these little black placemats from the Dollar Tree. Initially, I thought about using creepy cloth, but I didn't really like that look. So I picked up 3 of these black placemats. These are just from the kitchen section of the Dollar Tree right now. And I'm going to use this material to cover it. And I think it's going to look really cool. It's got a cool kind of pattern on there, but it's not that see-through. So I think it's going to look cool for a witch's hat. So I'm going to take half of it, keeping it upright like this. And I start by hot gluing the corner to the top of the wood dowel. And it's the perfect height. Look at that. I didn't even measure. I love when things work out like that. And I went ahead and hot glued it to the bottom. Now, a little tricky here, when I wrap it around to the bottom, I do have a little corner of material that I can trim off. My camera didn't really know where to focus at this point because this project was so tall. It's like right next to my camera. And then I also cut off another triangle of fabric so it has like a straight line down the back. For stability, I used my staple gun to staple it to the top. And I'm also going to staple it here to the bottom tier. I used hot glue in the front because I didn't want there to be any visible staples, but the staples were definitely sturdier. So I'm glad I was able to do that on the back and I can hide it back there. So I have half of my witch's hat because I want the front of my witch's hat to be open like this so you can see all the cute things on the tier tray. So on the other side, I did the same thing. I just hot glued the corner there to the top pole and then came down and hot glued it here to the front. And turning it around, I need a seam for the back. I want it to overlap slightly. And so I go in and I cut off that corner there at the bottom to make it smooth with the bottom of my tier tray. And I went ahead and stapled that in place and then cut off my other triangle here in the back. So I have a straight line and you can see my seam there in the back. It's going to slightly overlap maybe by like an inch or so. I went ahead and stapled that to my middle tier like that. So that's what the back of my tray looks like at this point. I gather it together and I'm also going to simply staple it there to the wood pole, kind of cutting off some of the excess material there to give it that pointy tip for the witch's hat. And I'm going to trim it down a little bit more just to clean it up. And I think it's looking really cool. It's exactly what I envisioned. But then I was like, I think the brim of the witch's hat needs to be the same material. So I'm going to go in with my third placemat and cover that with that. It is a little bit smaller than the chargers from the Dollar Tree. So I am going to have to piece it together. It will only cover about this much. But I just went ahead and removed the tier tray and I'm going to simply hot glue this directly onto the charger. So that's why it doesn't really matter which charger you get. I thought about using a pizza pan too, but the charger was the perfect size, especially using those wood circles from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going around and gluing that just around the outer edges, the brim of it, like that before I cut it down to size. That way I can kind of cut it down perfectly. I had a little bit of excess material here, but it was not enough to cover the rest of the tray. But I did have these triangles that I cut off earlier that I can use to kind of fill in the back, and my seam will be on the back, so it won't be super obvious. So let me cut this into like a little bit of a straighter line. And we can slightly overlap this, and I'm going to hot glue this one onto so that all of the little charger is covered by that same material that we used to make the witch's hat. And I'm really glad that I went back and did the brim of the hat in the same material. It just makes it so much more cohesive. Now that I have everything glued on, I'm just going to trim off the excess material going all the way around here. I love crafting with these chargers from the Dollar Tree. I do it a lot. They're so easy to make things with. And then I'm going to hot glue the tier tray back in place so it's all one piece. I hot glue on that bottom wood shelf like that. And then I overlapped this from the back to the front. I think it would look a little bit better if I overlapped it front to back. So I just trimmed it down as thin as I could because I don't want you to be able to see that seam. And I kind of changed the direction of the overlap and it made it blend in a little bit more from the front. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here from the other side. And we have this really fun witch hat tier tray. I really love how it looks. And I'm also going to show you how I go about decorating this little Halloween tier tray too. But first, let me give you a little preview of how our witch's hat tier tray turned out. A custom tier tray. I got really lucky that mine was exactly the same height as the placemat. If you're going to use the placemats too for your fabric, you might want to go ahead and measure so you cut your wood dowel, the plunger handle down to the perfect size. But I think it looks really cool so far. What do you guys think? Now to decorate it, we're going to use some potions I thought would be fun with the witch hat theme. So I picked up these little glass flasks at the Halloween section at the Dollar Tree. And I thought we would just fill these up with maybe some colored water. I thought that'd be really easy. So I just take a little craft funnel and I put a little bit of water in here. I always like to keep food coloring like in my crafting stash. So I have some from the Dollar Tree that's probably way expired, but it works great for crafting. I think I'll do one in green. I just do a dot of green food coloring in the water. And then I was thinking purple with the other one. So I did like a drop of blue and a drop of red. Might have been a little bit too much food coloring for this tiny bit because it did turn really dark, but it definitely looks creepy. They're super small, so I don't think they need labels or anything. I just like the colors of the potions. The green one I think turned out really cool. So I'm going to do the little purple one here on the top shelf and the green one next to it. Dollar Tree also has these little mini potion bottles that you can get. I think there's like 4 in a package, and they're already like tinted. So I just put plain water in there, and I'm just going to use one of those in combination. And it says Witch's Brew on there, so that goes perfectly with the witch hat theme, and I add that to the potions. The other thing I found at Dollar General, these were $3 and you get 3, so only $1 a piece. These cute little ghosts, I'm going to choose the witch one. I think that's going to be perfect for the witch hat, and that's going to look really cute on the top shelf combined with the potions. And really, I think that's all we need up here at the top. That's really all that we have room that you can see well. And so I am going to move on to the bottom tier. I picked up a little plastic cauldron from the Dollar Tree, just a cheap one, and put a little bit of polyfill in there to make it look like there's a potion brewing. A very simple DIY for something towards the back here that you're not really going to be able to tell that it's just plastic. But I think it looks really cute. The next item for the tier tray I'm going to use is a little Halloween candle that I got. This is really cool. It's like color changing, and it's got skulls all over one side, spiders on the other. It's just white plastic though. So I decided to just distress mine with a little bit of brown paint. I think this is burnt umber, maybe that color. And I just distressed all of the skulls and the web, the spider web on there, so that you can see some more of the details and make it kind of look older and creepier. But I don't want to get any on like that little glittery thing that covers the inside of the candle, but it was pretty easy to keep it off of that. I like the way that looked, so I went ahead and distressed the front, and I'm also going to distress like the spiders here on the back of it. And we'll have a fun color changing candle to add to the tier tray. It's the perfect scale. See how it changes colors? I think that's going to make it look really creepy, and I love things that light up for Halloween. We're going to have a lot of projects today that light up for Halloween. I'm going to place that over to the left side of my witch's hat tier tray. And next item is one of the little skeletons from the Dollar Tree. This one's like covering its face, and I think it looks like it's in distress, and I'm going to finish off the tier tray with that. Turning on the candle, you can see how it changes colors. It's really creepy and fun. And let me show you how my witch's hat tier tray turned out. I'm really glad I was able to pull it off. I had this idea and I was like, what on earth can I use for the fabric for the sides? I even went to Walmart's craft section. They did a remodel at my store, and you cannot buy like fabric that's cut anymore. And you know, Joann's went out of business too. So I was like, oh my gosh, I definitely have to find something at Dollar Tree that I can use to make a witch's hat, because I cannot find a witch's hat, like an adult witch's hat to craft with at all. Every store, nobody had them. For this DIY, I found this little cauldron at the Dollar Tree. It was a little bit more expensive than I would normally pay, but I thought it was so cute. And I want to make it into a giant candle. So since it's so large, I'm going to need 3 of the jar candles. And you know, they used to have lining on the outside of these. Now they don't. They just have stickers, which is fine. That will melt off when I go to melt these down. I'm just going to go put these in a a pot of boiling water on my oven. I have an old pot that I use specifically for this in case any of the wax gets out. And this is the cauldron. It was $5. Look how cute this is. On the inside of the label, it says you have been poisoned. But I can make a really large jarred candle in this, I think. And I think 3 is definitely going to be necessary to fill this up because it's so large. Now I'm just going to use the wicks that came in the candles. You can get little wick kits with little double-sided tape on Amazon. So I'm just going to kind of make my own with the actual wicks that melted out of the candles by putting those in the boiling water. And I'm just going to stick the double-sided tape here on the bottom of those wicks so I can place them where I can pour the candle in there and they will stay in place. They are plenty long since they came out of those long jarred candles. And we're going to do a 3-wick candle. Now, to make sure the wicks stay in place while I pour the candle, I used a popsicle stick and a little hot glue to glue the wicks in place. And that will keep them in place while the candle sets up. So I'm going to need one more, and I just went ahead and did 3. I'm glad I did 3 because it's such a large candle. It definitely needed multiple wicks. And now it's time to pour in the melted wax. I thought orange would be really fun for Halloween. So 1, 2, and we're going to have a 3rd one. If you want to clean up the wax out of those jarred candles, these make really great vases for Dollar Tree DIYs. I'm also going to scent mine with some fragrance oil I picked up from the Dollar Tree. This one is a pear scent. It's not really fall scent, but I really like how it smells. And I'm going to be putting this candle in my kitchen. I think that that is going to be fine. So I just stirred that up and then I set it aside. It has started to solidify since this is such a large candle. It has a little bit more to go, but I think I have enough here to be able to trim the wicks down. You want to make sure that you don't make them too long. And if you get a little bit of little dents around the actual wicks like you see there, you can melt them down with a heat gun. I'm going to go ahead and burn this one pretty soon, so I think it's going to all level out anyway. Another thing you can do is to save a little bit of wax, melt that down and pour it over the top if you want like a perfect flat top, if you're like giving it as a gift or something like that. But this is how it turned out, our little witch's cauldron candle. So perfect for Halloween. I really love how this turned out. And this is what it looks like lit up at night. I tried to take a video of how cute it looks flickering inside the cauldron, but my camera was doing some funny things with the lighting, maybe all of the wicks being lit there. It just wanted to, have little dots all over the video. So let me just show you some pictures of how our Halloween cauldron candle turned out. So fun and easy. For this DIY, I wanted to make a little graveyard scene using a Dollar Tree frame and one of their little tombstones. And then I'm going to have some of the little skeleton hands coming out of the ground. I thought that'd be funny because the tombstone says, "I'll be back." Now, this is the frame I'm using. I chose this one because it looks kind of old and distressed. It's got some high sides, and then I'm going to use one of the tombstone sides. They have different ones. This one says, "I'll be back," so I thought that would be perfect for this little graveyard theme for this little shelf sitter. Now, for the little skeleton hands, I'm going to choose 2, and I want like a left hand and a right hand, so I picked those out so they're different. As you can see, they are distressed already, but they're kind of a darkish gray. So I distressed mine a little bit more with some antique white with acrylic here on the front and the back, just to bring out that bone color and really make it contrast with this DIY. And this was so easy to make, and I really love how this turned out. So I went ahead and distressed both of those. Now we can start putting this all together. I am going to have the little tombstone right here towards the back, so I can have like the zombie climbing out in front of it. So I just attached that with hot glue onto the back of the sign. We're going to have filler in there, so you're not going to be able to see the B sign back there. And I'm just going to use potting soil. I thought that would be the best way to do this. Have a little zombie crawling out of the ground to actually just use soil. So I just had some potting soil, and I'm just going to fill this in. Since the frame had really nice high sides on this, it has lots of room to really be able to bury those hands in there. So I just put that in there and kind of packed that in a little bit so it'll stay in place. And then we can put both of our little hands coming out of the grave like this. Like they are climbing out, kind of scary, kind of facing towards the front. And then I'm going to use some of the brown floral moss from the Dollar Tree just to kind of break up all of the dark soil, give it a creepy factor, like a mossy ground here in the cemetery. Because most cemeteries are going to have like grass or dead grass on it. I was going for like a dead grass feel here for our Halloween decoration, but I do want you to still be able to see the soil. So I didn't use a lot. Then for spiders, I'm going to use a couple little spiders here. I got these spiders on Amazon. They are, I'll be sure to add these to my Amazon shop. I don't think I have. They're great for when you can't find spiders. A lot of times at Dollar Tree, I can't find just regular little spiders like that. I did find these. They're called reptiles, but they're not really reptiles. I guess there's a few in there. But I found these in the toy aisle at the Dollar Tree, and they're black too, so they work perfect for Halloween. So we can do like a little beetle. That reminds me of like a cemetery decomposing kind of thing. And then creepy things like there's a scorpion in there. I thought that would be really creepy for Halloween. So just kind of scattering those out, and this DIY is complete. Our little I'll be back graveyard scene. I think that's a really fun use for those signs. I picked up another one. I can't remember what my other one says, but I think they're really fun for $1.50, I guess is what they cost this year. And it is a little zombie climbing out of the grave, which is super creepy, but kind of fun too. Please let me know what you think of these DIYs down in the comments below. For this DIY, I wanted to make a Halloween candy bowl. So I picked up one of the spiderweb bowls from the Dollar Tree. They have these every year at Dollar Tree. That's going to hold the candy. And then we're going to put it on one of their candle holders. This is my favorite candle holder from the Dollar Tree. It's like the black, like wood one. And I'm going to put it upside down like that to form the base for the candy dish. It's going to hold it up, right? But it's also going to be really easy to grab and hold when I am dispensing the candy to the trick-or-treaters at the front door. So I added some hot glue here to the bottom of the spiderweb bowl, and I glued on the candlestick like that, upside down. I like it that way. It works out better. I have a flat surface. And then in the middle of the bowl, I'm going to use one of these light and sound activated haunted houses. This is going to do some creepy sounds and lights. If you want to just do lights, there is an option for that as well. There are no batteries in these, so I'm going to go ahead and put my batteries inside here, AAA batteries, and screw the bottom back on. Now, the speaker and the battery panel and the switch are all on the bottom, but I'm going to go ahead and glue it down just to keep it in place. But if you're going to recreate, you might not want to glue it down until the day of Halloween, so you still have access at least to the power switch, right? But I wanted mine to be stationary, so I went ahead and glued it down after turning it on so that it is motion activated. And then I want some creepy spiders kind of hanging down from the side and in the candy dish. I picked up these little glitter spiders from the Dollar Tree. I didn't really want the green glitter on there, but they only had those at my Dollar Tree Halloween aisle. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint that glitter black with some acrylic paint. A really easy way to make those a little bit less colorful. For the spider webs, I'm just going to use some cotton baking twine, something that I can get into the thinnest strand possible. You could also use some white thread for this. And I just want something to represent like a spider web. So I think that's one piece of it. I'm going to glue it here to the rear of the inside of the spider, so it looks like the spider is spinning the web. And I'm going to have two spiders. I'm going to do one kind of hanging in the front, so it will kind of creep out the trick-or-treaters. They'll be able to see it. And the other one I'm going to hang more towards the back, so I can actually put that one in the candy dish, or it can kind of hang down to the side, either or. So I think I'll do it kind of off to the side here, to the right side of my candy dish. And I'm just going to simply take that twine and tie it on to the height that I want, just double knotting this just to make sure that that stays in place. And I like the idea of using just a string for the spider web. It made it really easy. You want something white because you want it to look like a spider web, but the webbing from the Dollar Tree might be a little bit harder to work with. But yeah, I guess you could get a string out of that as well. I'm going to do the second one back here towards the back. Again, this one's going to end up in my candy dish. but it can always hang there too if it gets kind of knocked out on Halloween. I always like to do something fun for the trick-or-treaters. The light and the sound effects being motion activated, I think is going to be fun for them. And of course, the spider theme there too. So, time for candy. I picked up my candy from the Dollar Tree as well. I swear you do not get very much candy anymore in these bags. That is for sure. Most of these were all, I think, $1.25, except for the gummy bears, the 24 bags of gummy bears. I think were $3.50. I do not know. The Dollar Tree pricing is all over the place. I'm like surprised when I watch how much things cost when they ring them up. But I found a good variety. We do not get a lot of trick or treaters here. So I think this size bowl will work for how much candy I'm going to need. And I just wanted brand name candy, a good variety to choose from, and enough to fill this up. I think I'm going to have too many of the gummy bears, but that's okay. That's something that I can reuse. And if we don't get hardly any trick or treaters at all, I can always give that to my son. So this is how it turned out. Our little haunted house and spiderweb candy bowl. As you can see, I have one spider in the dish there on top of the candy. I have one spider hanging down here in front, which is really fun. And it does have the light and the sound. If the sound drives you crazy, you could always just do the light. But what it does is it changes the color of the light inside the haunted house. And I think that's really cute. The haunted house was black plastic. It really didn't need anything to really go well with the black spiderweb dish and, of course, the black candle holder. So as you can see, the light is changing inside the haunted house. And this is what it looks like at night with the flickering lights inside. For this DIY, what I want to do is I want to make a cool Halloween mirror. I'm going to combine a mirror from the Dollar Tree with a charger I got at Dollar General. These are in their fall section and they look like wood. They're $2, and right now at my Dollar General, they had them buy one, get one half off. But I thought it would look really pretty for a wood frame for the mirror. Now to make a hanger, I'm just going to use a paper clip and a piece of fabric here to make a simple hanger for the back of it. You can kind of bend it slightly. It makes a perfect little hanger back there. I attach mine with some hot glue, and I'm also covering it with fabric with hot glue just to kind of reinforce that to make it a little bit stronger. And we have a hanger for the charger. Now for the mirror itself, I wanted to do something fun. I love the fact that this already has a black frame. I think that's perfect for Halloween. I just picked up the round circle mirror, but I wanted to look like it's covered with cobwebs. Instead of using the thin webbing though, I'm going to use the macrame cord from the Dollar Tree to give me a really thick spider web. I don't want to cover the entire mirror though. If you wanted to, you could. That would be really cute too. But I had a plan to cover only part of it. So I kind of went here on the side and went from one side to the other. And then I'm going to crisscross this with an X. And I'm just hot gluing this to the very outside of the frame and cutting off the excess cord like that. Now again, I'm not covering the whole thing, so I only want the right side of it covered with a web. So I do the same thing here with one. I'm not going to continue this one though. I'm going to cut it. I attach it here where they're intersecting with a little dot of hot glue, and then I'm going to do one more over here. This one I glued to the bottom of that, so they're all kind of connected there in the middle, and that is going to be the extent of the webbing. And then to make it look like a spider web, I need to do like the little middle pieces. So I start here on the frame and I hot glue it from web to web, giving that arch shape that you see in a spider web where it kind of goes inward in a little arch shape toward the center of the web. And I did that all the way across here using one piece of the cord for the webbing. The reason I'm not putting the spider web on the left side is because I wanted to do like a little Halloween moon over there. I thought that would be cute, and combining the moonlight and the spider web. So I just glued these all in place so they would keep that great arch shape. Then I'm going to go in here for the very inner ring of the spider web, and I'm hot gluing it to each piece. So since I glued this all to the frame, it's not glued directly to the mirror. It's kind of a 3D vibe, which I like. So I'm just gluing it directly to the cord itself and not to the mirror, but still trying to keep that arch shape if I can with the cord by making it just a little bit longer than it needs to be and kind of bending it like that. For the middle row, I do the same thing. I'm just gluing the cord one piece all the way around, trying to get the arch shape as I go and gluing it to the twine and again, not to the mirror. Now I get that all on there and then I want like another web coming down with a spider on it. I'm going to use the little glitter spider clips from the Dollar Tree and just take the clip off the back of it. I think it's the perfect size spider for this and I like the black glitter. I think that's going to look cool. And then of course I'm going to need another piece of the macrame cord for the spider to be hanging on so it looks like it's spinning the web. So it could almost look like a web in process too, since it's not going to be covering the whole thing. I hot glue that to the inside of the spider so it hangs upside down like that. And then I'm going to glue that piece of macrame cord to the center where everything kind of intersected. And this can simply hang down on its own in front of the mirror. Now I got to this point and then I was like, oh yeah, I really wanted to make the mirror look creepy, like with a frosted effect. So it almost looks like it's fogged up, but I don't think it's too late. I just took some of that Rust-Oleum frosted glass and sprayed one coat over the mirror where most of the mirror is covered, but it looks really foggy and creepy because of course I'm not using this for a functional mirror. It's more a decorative piece and it still works. So that was great. The little wood circle came from the 3-pack of the wood circles from the Dollar Tree. And I just painted it ivory for a base coat to make it look like a moon. And then I mixed that together with a little bit of brown to make a tannish color. And using one of those little circle stencil daubers, I did little craters all over our little moon. And it's just going to require really a lot of blending. So I go back in with my original ivory color and I distress that as well. And then I go back in with the tan and do craters. And you want it to look kind of modeled like the surface of the moon. And so I just kind of went back and forth and blending that together also with like a baby wipe so all the colors kind of go together to make it look like a moon. And it's pretty easy to do. Just kind of go back and forth with your colors until you're happy with the craters. I definitely wanted the craters to be visible like that. So I tried to darken them up a little bit. But I think that looks pretty good. We're going to have our moon like completely covered with craters here. And a full moon is creepy. It always reminds me of Halloween, which is one reason why I wanted to do this for the other side of the mirror. And as you can see, I kind of went back and forth with it until I got the exact look I was going for. I think that looks pretty cool. And then we're simply going to hot glue this onto the mirror over here on the other side. So that's kind of in the background of our spider web. Then I thought it'd be really cute to draw a couple little bats flying in front of it. So I just used my black paint pen and did some simple bats here. I always like to work like with odd numbers. So I think I'll do 3 of them here. Little bats flying in front of the full moon for Halloween. And I love how this turned out. So cute so far. It's really cute on its own as a little small mirror. But again, we have the wood charger from Dollar General that we're going to frame it with to make it larger and more substantial. I simply hot glued the frame of the mirror to the charger using hot glue and trying to get that centered there on the wood piece like that. And then to decorate the outside of that black frame, I'm going to use some Spanish moss. I thought it would give it the final creepy vibe. So just here on the inside, I attach hot glue and I glue the Spanish moss on there. This also helped to glue the mirror to the charger too, because I was able to add lots of extra hot glue here and you won't be able to see it because of the Spanish moss. I'm not going to add anything else to the Spanish moss. I think that that's enough, but I definitely do want you to still be able to see that wood charger. I think that's really pretty. It's different than the one that I've bought at the Dollar Tree before. I really like the rich brown color of it. So I just went around the entire mirror here with the Spanish moss, gluing that into place. And I really love how this turned out. A really fun idea using the macrame cord. You could also use twine. I'm actually going to have a twine spiderweb project coming up later in this video. And either one I think would be really cute. But let me show you how this turned out. I don't know what was going on. My color got a little bit warm there on my camera. But here it is, our little frosted mirror. Here's a little better look of how it turned out with the wood frame, all of the fun little Halloween touches, the spiders, the bats, the spider web. I think it's creepy, but also kind of pretty. Kind of a classy Halloween decor piece. And I really like black and white together for Halloween, but also the touch of wood. I think it makes it look really classy. Isn't that so fun? I love how that turned out. For this easy Halloween DIY, I picked up one of these arched frames from the Dollar Tree. It's 5 by 7 and it's white. So I thought this would be a perfect ghost. So I'm just going to use the frame intact like this. And I designed a printable to go inside to make this look like a ghost. So very easy. I'm just going to pop off the back of this so we can put this together. It's an arch shape, but it's really a 5 by 7 with like the corners cut off like that. And this is the printable that I designed, a little ghost face. And I thought it would be cute too if he had little hands, like with a little trick or treat pail. And so I'm going to use the little paper that came with it as a template to be able to cut this down. I just printed this out on cardstock, but you could always print it out on regular paper as well. And I will include a link to the free printable in the description of today's video underneath the timestamp for this DIY. So I just kind of sketched that out with a pencil so I would know how to cut this down. And I tried to get it as centered as possible, but you have a little bit of wiggle room when you go to cut this out because you want your ghost to be centered in that arch-shaped frame, which is perfect for a ghost. So let's go ahead and put this together. I think that's going to work. But I was a little bit off center, so I'm going to trim off one side here, making it a little bit skinnier, but again, it's still plenty big enough, and that looks way better. So all I have to do now is pop the glass back in here. Whenever I have a picture frame, I always use some glass cleaner, especially on the inside where you're not going to be able to get to it, and the outside as well. Let's go ahead and add our little ghost to this, and then all I have to do is pop the back on. It has a stand on there already, so I can use that to stand up this DIY. And this is how it looks with just the ghost. I thought I would make mine a girl ghost, so I'm going to give it a little bow for the hair. So I take some of the Halloween ribbon. I chose the black and white spiderweb ribbon, and I'm just going to cut out 3 pieces of ribbon to make a simple little X bow. I'm going to go ahead and dovetail the edges of this while I have them just cut out together like this so I can do all 3 at the same time. And then lay it out in X, and my third one is just going to go like straight across. To tie it off, I'm just going to use one of the little zip ties from the hardware aisle of the Dollar Tree, one of the tiny black ones, and that won't take away from anything. Before I cinch it tight, I just make sure that I have it centered, and this makes a really cute little hair bow, which is what I'm doing for this ghost, just to give it a little bit more character, but again, keeping it a really simple, easy Halloween DIY. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm making sure that everything is about the same length. And then we're just going to put it here on the side of the ghost head. And I'm really glad I added the extra touch to it. I think it makes it look really cute. I add a little dot of hot glue to the back of the zip tie that I kind of put around on the back. And this is how it turned out. Our little ghost frame, so easy. I couldn't decide if I wanted just the ghost face or if I also wanted the hands and the trick-or-treat pail. I decided to go with both, but I think I have both designs. So if you would just like the face, let me know down in the comments below and I will upload that image for you as well. But just printing it out on white paper or white cardstock like that and putting that into the frame, it's going to be a really cute Halloween DIY. For this DIY, we're going to DIY the 24-inch stacking skull from the Dollar Tree. I really wish these weren't $7 this year, but it makes sure to limit me to one of each for sure. And I've done some really fun stackable Halloween. I've done the skull tree. I've done the pumpkins. What else have I done? I did the ghosts. And so now let's do the skulls. Now it is just white plastic. So I want mine to look like old skulls. So the first thing I did was just go over with some brown and black acrylic mixed together. And I'm just distressing half of the skull here and making sure to really get it into the cracks between the teeth, the face. They already have black eyes, but I would prefer them to be brown. So I'm going to distress that part too. Then I went over it with just a cloth rag and wiped off the excess. That leaves the distressing where I want it without making the skull too dark. I am going to light this up as well. So I don't want to paint it too much, but I definitely want it to look old and grungy like a skull. So I'm only working with half of the skull at a time because I don't want that paint to dry before I have a chance to wipe it off with my rag. And again, I'm distressing the face, the nose and the eye cavities with the brown too, because I would rather them be like a dark brown than the black color. And we're going to go back and forth with different colors to distress these, to really model these, to make them look like an old skull is what I was looking for. And so again, I just kind of distress the face a little bit more. Now, if you're going to be using this outside, you're going to want to go in with some kind of like spray sealer, because I noticed these plastic stackable pieces from the Dollar Tree have a plastic that the paint, acrylic paint, really slips off easily if it gets wet outside, if it gets rained on and stuff like that. So you're definitely going to want to weatherproof it. Now, I am making mine for indoor decor because I've already made so many of these for outdoor. I don't have any more room outside on my porch. So I'm going to use this to replace a plant in my living room. I think it'll look really fun. And so this is the middle school. I did the same thing. I went all over it with that brown and black mixed together. I really wanted a dark brown. And I just went ahead and did one section at a time again to make sure that it doesn't dry too much before I have a chance to go in there with my rag. And I'm wiping. I'm not blotting or anything like that. I'm just using a rag. It's actually one of the little baby towels from the Dollar Tree that I cut up into some rags. And I just went all over with that. And I really love that look. I love distressing the skulls. I don't want to leave it too white. They were a little too cute, like the bottom skull has a big smile, and I wanted them to look kind of creepy. So I think that the dark brown definitely gives me that. And so for the eyes, I'm okay with them being painted black first, but I do want to go in with that dark brown color. I really like the way that looks. And so I am just distressing these one at a time, letting that paint kind of dry on those while I start working on the next one. This is the largest one. This is the bottom skull that has the big smile. Now, you don't have to use all of these stacking together. I've used these Dollar Tree stacking items, especially the bottom one with the opening there on the top, as a planter for lots of decor. And that would be really cute too if you wanted to take yours apart. You could just stack the top two and then have the bottom one be another piece if you wanted. I did consider that, but I went ahead and stacked them all together because I wanted to do like a Tower of Terror kind of look with this. Instead of a plant, I want the topiary to be skulls. I thought that would be really creepy. So that is the look I am going for. But I definitely wanted to do a lot of distressing on these to really get that creepy terror factor that I was going for. So the dark brown is definitely the key to that. And I will go in here with other colors to really distress it, but I don't, again, want it to be super thick. That is why I'm kind of wiping it off and kind of blotting as I go here, because I definitely want to be able to light this up. I'm going to be lighting it up with one of the little like battery operated flicker candles that you can use in your jack-o'-lantern. I thought that would be creepy, but there's lots of things you could use. You could use their battery operated lights. They have some larger ones now. Or you could use the little battery operated lights that come in the little canisters. I use those a lot. There's lots of fun things. Even a push light would work for this. And then I went back over it with a little antique white. But I did make a mistake there by wiping the paint off. It's fine to wipe it off when you do the dark brown like that, but when you add your antique white distressing in here, you're going to want to blot it because you don't want to wipe it all off. So I went ahead and repaired that, and now I just went on and blotted it with my rag because I don't want to wipe the white paint off. I do want it just to be blended in and distressed with the brown. So just kind of going all over with the distressing. If you do too much, you can go back in with your original color and distress it some more. And I definitely had to go over like the eye sockets, the nose, the mouth, the cracks with a couple of coats of the darker brown color to really make that, really stand out. And I definitely wanted to cover up the black eye spots. I didn't want that to be super obvious. They're not painted like all the way like I'm doing, all the way in the sockets. And so I definitely wanted to cover that up as well. But I did want to bring out that bone color, which is why I went in there with that antique white color. I really like that for skeletons. It's one of my favorite colors to use is the antique white by Apple Barrel. And so that is our first skull. This was the middle skull. I just go in there with my little sponge stencil daubers. I've been using those all the time. They got kind of expensive buying them from the Dollar Tree. So I've been buying the little sponge stencil daubers from Amazon. I think I have those listed in my Amazon shop under paint supplies. I will double check. They are really great for crafting and you can get a whole bunch of them at a time. And they're so versatile. They give me that spongy look here without any brush strokes or losing any bristles or anything like that. And so I even use them a lot of times for distressing like this. So this is my middle skull. I just went in and distressed the whole thing with the antique white. Also making sure the eye sockets and everything had enough brown in them and just kind of working one piece at a time. Since this is such a large project, it was definitely a lot of painting on this, but it was really easy to do and I just kind of took my time. But do remember that if you are going to put yours outside, you definitely have to seal them. I would get like a spray sealer, like, kind of like a spray paint to put over that, something that's going to be weatherproof and protect this, because I definitely think that with the pumpkins, I painted them and made them into a lighthouse, and I did not seal them, and I put them outside, and it rained the next day, and definitely had to repair the paint on that because the paint slipped right off, which I haven't encountered with acrylic paint outside, even with all this Florida rain. But there must just be something about this plastic that it doesn't stick to too well. So definitely keep that in mind if you're going to put yours outside. But I went over and distressed this large one. See the big grin on the bottom skull? I think that's really fun. And then I went over the eye sockets and the nose there with some more brown. Now, I thought that this one was like maybe a little bit darker than I wanted, so I did add a little bit more ivory, and I'm going to kind of do that with all of these, distressing them with a little bit more ivory until I am totally happy with the way that they look. I just think they look so much better now. They had so many fun details with the cracks, with the face, and stuff like that that you really can't see when they are all just white plastic. So painting them is definitely the key. This is a very similar finish to what I did with the skull tree that I have outdoors. That one turned out really cool too. And you can kind of do the Tower of Terror with that one as well. We're going to be putting it in a flower pot, and I think that that looks really cool like that. So I have this on super, super fast speed because as you can see, there was just a lot of painting and distressing because I did go over all three skulls again with the antique white to distress them again because I thought they needed a little bit more of a lighter feel. I thought they were distressed a little too dark. But now that I'm happy with them, I can go ahead and put these together. So this is the top skull. They click right together like this. The middle skull like that. And I am going to light them up. My top skull doesn't light up as bright as I would like. If you're worried about that, you could always put some twinkle lights inside since they are hollow and kind of light each individual one. This is the flower pot I'm going to use. It's just something I had from the Target dollar spot, just a rope basket. I weighed down the bottom with some Dollar Tree rocks. And then I'm using that pet bedding, the wood pet bedding that I have from another project. And this stuff is really cheap and it actually worked really well for a filler. Since I'm just filling the flower pot, you could do like plastic bags, kind of recycling items, whatever you have just to fill that up. No need to use soil or anything like that. And then for the top, I'm going to cover it up with some Spanish moss. I think that's going to look really creepy for my Tower of Terror. But I really only need to go around the outer edges because you're not going to be able to see the inside. And I want to leave room for a light. I really like the way that the Spanish moss looked, so I decided to do that in between each skull too for my like kind of Tower of Terror vibe. But I do want to make sure that I can still pop these apart for storage purposes. And so I'm just gluing to kind of the skull below it, the top of it, so I can still definitely take this apart. Because these large projects, I have a small house, can be very hard to store. I have to store everything in my garage, my one-car garage, which I also craft in. So, and it's my laundry room. We have a refrigerator out there. There's a lot going on out in my garage. And so I definitely don't have a lot of room for storage. I want to be able to take it apart for sure. So I do that between both, just hot gluing the Spanish moss here. It's a little wild looking. You can go in and give it a quick little trim if you think that It's kind of overpowering, but I definitely want to go around all the edges. That's going to give it a more uniform feel. We're going to have that on the bottom with the flower pot, but that I definitely wanted it to kind of break up the skulls as well. And I think it looks really creepy. So I just went ahead and glued that all on, trimmed it up to make it look a little bit better. This is the candle we're going to use, the little battery operated LED flame light. And it has a little push button. You can turn it on and off. And it just requires some batteries, are not included. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these in here. I found the batteries were a little hard to get in there. I don't know why, but made sure to get those in there right. And it gives me like a twinkle candle vibe. I thought that would be creepy for this one. And I will show you how that turned out. I kind of like it. It's not super bright. So again, the top school doesn't get lit up too much, but I think it's going to be fine for indoor decor. I don't want anything too bright to distract away. Like if you're watching TV or something, it's going to be pretty close to the television set. But it looks really creepy during the day. Here is our little tower of terror. I think that the skulls turned out really well with all the painting and distressing. And now that smile there on the bottom, I think just looks creepy, which is cool. But let me also show you what it looks like lit up. Had a little trouble taking a photo of this because it is daytime when I'm doing this edit. And so I tried to make it as dark as possible in my house to show you how creepy they look lit up. But as you can see, the top, it does light up a little bit, but it's really not super bright. But you could put some twinkle lights in there if you wanted. But this is the candle kind of candle flicker effect that it has. I wanted to kind of show you a video of that so you could get kind of the effect I was going for with the flicker candle. I think that makes it look even creepier. But I thought this DIY turned out really cool. I really like the stackable items. For this Halloween DIY, I picked up 3 of the house signs from the Dollar Tree, and I have an old piece of just wood from my garage. Nothing fancy. We're going to paint it, so it doesn't really matter. And I just cut it down a little bit larger than the 3 houses combined, and I thought we could make it look like haunted houses, like a haunted house sign. Now you could always use craft wood for this piece here on the bottom. I'm going to paint mine black now that I cut it down to size. And the 3 houses that I used from the Dollar Tree, I could only find 2 that were black, but I kind of liked the fact that my middle haunted house is going to be like that wood tone. So I really wanted an odd number of haunted houses on this sign. And I thought about making individual houses and displaying them all together, but I thought it would be even cuter to put them all together on one piece like this. So these are the 3 houses. I'm going to touch the black ones up with a little bit of paint there just because they were scratched a little bit. And for the letters, I'm going to have it spell out the word boo. These are the little wooden letters from Dollar General. They're only $1 a piece. I picked up BOO for Halloween. I thought that'd be really cute. And I'm just going to simply hot glue these onto the little haunted house signs. And I'm making sure to kind of line them up so my spacing is pretty good for how I place my letters. And then I thought they'd be really cute with some roofs. So I'm going to use some of this camping kindling wood. I get this at Dollar General. They had this all spring and summer for $1 for a package of this. It's a nice chunky wood. I'm going to cut it directly even there with the roof line and then use the other piece to go the other direction. So I'm going to need 3 roofs. So I take 3 pieces and cut 1 piece down short, 1 piece down longer. That way it looks rustic, but I don't have to do any like mitered angles there on my roof line. And I'm going to kind of alternate which house has the longer side on which one, so it looks more random like that. For the brown haunted house, since it's brown and not black, I'm going to make the roof for this one black to bring in that black detail for Halloween. And I just paint all of the sides and the ends, anywhere where you might be able to see it. These pieces are a little bit thicker than the wood houses from the Dollar Tree, so they will kind of stick out a little bit on each side, which I kind of like. And I just painted both pieces of my roof black. Now for the other houses, since they're already black, I'm going to stain the wood pieces for their roofs just using some antique wax by Waverly, going over everything and just wiping off the excess. I wanted to have like a similar kind of tone to the wood house, even though it's kind of a different color of brown. We can always distress the brown house a little bit too. That way they all kind of complement each other. So the other black house is getting the same treatment. And this campfire kindling wood at the Dollar Tree, even though it was only $1, they did clearance this off at the end of summer. You might still be able to find some at your store if you didn't pick some up, but it might all be gone because they went down, I know, to 50 cents at my store, and I was able to really stock up on them. It's great for crafting. I'm going to use that same antique wax by Waverly to kind of distress and stain this house as well, just so it will coordinate a little bit better with the roof of the other two houses. Just kind of cleaning up any excess with a baby white. So, really simple little haunted houses. I think adding all three of these to the one DIY like this is going to make it easier to display and to store. Now this is my shorter side, so I hot glue that on where it just goes even with my roof line. Now going up where I can put the longer piece over here. It worked out perfectly, the length. I didn't need to cut the second piece at all. And I hot glue that one on as well. You're wanting it to look really rustic, so it doesn't have to be perfect for sure. It's just going to be a haunted house. And they do have little stickers on the back that are pretty easy to remove with a little bit of heat. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those too. Since it's going to be a standing sign, I don't want the back to have the stickers on there. Now for my bee house, again, my shorter side first, and then the longer side. Like that, forming the point there at the top. And again, I did alternate which way I did the roof line here on each one of them to make it look a little bit more random. So for my third and final little haunted house, we're going to glue this on. And I love the idea of using these as a word sign too. I think that's really fun. Now to make them look spooky and like a haunted house, we're going to use some of the fake spider webs from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to stretch that out and put this all over the house. I've been reading online a lot lately to definitely not use this fake spider webs outdoors for your Halloween decor. Like birds are getting stuck in it or something like that, or it's just not good for animals outdoors. So keep that in mind if you're using this for your Halloween decorating this year. Now, if I have too much and it doesn't really stick on there too well, I'll just tie this off on the back just to make that a little bit sturdier. But I just want a little random dusting of spider webs all over each one of my houses. And I just kind of stretch it out. I did something different here for each one, but I think that's going to make them look spooky. I think that with the addition of some spiders on there is going to give it the haunted house vibe really easy. These spiders I actually got on Amazon, and they are very inexpensive, but you can always use the ones from the Dollar Tree. These are like the little rings with the spiders on them, but without the ring. So that is really fun. Just whatever you have that's spooky that you can kind of scatter throughout. I have 3 different size spiders here, and I'm going to glue those in different places all over the haunted houses. You can also find some in the toy aisle. The little reptiles bags have a lot of bugs inside of them as well. For the craftwood piece here, I'm going to find the center of my board so I can go ahead and glue my middle haunted house on first to center it. And I just hot glue that on, leaving a lot of the wood on the front because I want to decorate like in front of the houses. You don't want to go all the way to the back though, because you don't want it to be like way more on the back. You don't want it to tip over. But I just kind of staggered my houses out like that. I don't want them to touch, just next to each other. And this is what it looks like so far. Now to decorate the little porches of our haunted houses, I'm going to use some of the brown floral moss. I think that looks kind of dead and creepy for Halloween. You could also use Spanish moss for this. As you can see, these pieces are very little. So I just glued them down with hot glue to keep them in place. And we're going to do that in front of all of the haunted houses and in between, kind of creating like a little Halloween yard here that we can add some more decor pieces. I picked up some Halloween fairy garden items at Dollar Tree and I think Target Dollar Spot. And I have some of those that I can scatter around on the porch. So I have this little black cat. I think I got this one at Target. And I just put a little hot glue here on its feet and glue that down onto the porch in front of this one. This is from the Dollar Tree, a little jack-o'-lantern with a black cat peeking out of it. I'm going to glue that in front of this O house. I have another little jack-o'-lantern too that I can glue here. And I think I got that one at Target. I just have some left over here. And I have a little sign here with a pumpkin and a bird that says welcome. And then I'm going to put a little bit more spider web on this last house. I felt like it didn't have as much as the other ones for a final creepy little touch to this DIY. It was really easy to make these little haunted houses. I love the fact that they spell out the word boo. Be sure to check out those wood letters at Dollar General. I think they're definitely a good deal for $1. And this is how it turned out. This is great for a table or a shelf. It's really going to give you a lot of bang for your buck for a Halloween decor piece. Really inexpensive to put together, but it's going to make a big impact, and I think it's perfect for Halloween. What do you think? For this DIY, I have a little ghost here from a ghost sign that you got 3 ghosts from Dollar General. You could also use the ghost signs from the Dollar Tree, the little wood ones. And then I'm going to make a shadow box. I picked up these 7x7 photo frames at Dollar Tree. The reason I chose these is because they're nice and thick. So I thought I could put 2 together and actually DIY a shadow box for Halloween. So what I'm going to do is put them like front to front, and that's how it's going to make the shadow box. So to go ahead and remove the backs, the liners, I am going to be using the glass. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that, but I need to get rid of the staples because they are in the way. So I make sure that I fold them back to their original position before using a pair of pliers to pull them out. That way it doesn't split the wood on the frame. And I'm going to do the same thing here for our second frame. I wanted them to be black, and I did consider painting them, but this sealed wood from the Dollar Tree on these frames is often really hard to paint, so I decided to leave them white. I'll just decorate it with a little black. Since the frame's going to be upside down, I did use a little bit of spackle to put in the staples in the corner and the places where we removed the little metal clips, so that's not super obvious. I also have this sign here. I'd already spackled the bottom of it with a little bit of spackle, the hole that was in the bottom of my ghost, but I also painted it with some white to kind of mask that. I really want you to be able to see the eyes and the mouth of the ghost that's cut out. So I took a little piece of black cardstock and I'm going to attach that to the back of my little ghost that I'm going to suspend and hang down inside my shadow box so it can look like it is floating through the air like a ghost. I'm going to sandwich it in between the two, but I could also fill up the shadow box with some fun Halloween items. Now this one on the right is the one that I filled in with spackle, so I also touched it up with a little bit of paint because that's going to be the front of my shadow box. I add hot glue all along the edges of the frame and reattach the glass, gluing that down. So this is going to be the front of my shadow box, and it's going to have that thick frame that's going to connect to the other thick frame to form the inside of the shadow box. Now to cover the seam and make it look a little bit better, I decided to take some white macrame cord and hot glue that in. That's also going to help glue the glass in since I removed the little clips. And it provides a little fun decorative touch. You could also do this with twine. I think without taking away from the project, the twine would look really good with the black and the white. And so I went ahead and glued that all together. For the back one, I wanted to frost it. Another way you can frost glass really easily is using these little chopping mats from the Dollar Tree. I just took a chopping mat and I'm going to cut it out the same size as the glass. And this is going to be for the back because I want this to be see-through, but I also want to light it up and I want the look to be frosted. I kind of like the way it looks kind of backwards. You can kind of play around which side you put down for your frosted look there with the cutting mat. But I am going to still use the glass. So I hot glued the inside of that frame. This is going to be the back of our shadow box. I glued the glass in, and then I'm also going to glue in the cutting mat there for the frosting. One reason I wanted to do this rather than just frosting it with the spray frosting is because I want to hot glue twinkle lights onto the back. I thought it would be easier to glue it onto the cutting mat than to glue it onto the frosting. So I secured it with a little bit more hot glue. So this is what I'm talking about. Both the fronts are going to be touching together, and that's going to form the shadow box to make it nice and thick. I'm going to have the little ghost hanging down from the top. And then for fun miniatures, you can use the erasers from the Dollar Tree. This is the little eraser black cat, perfect size for the bottom of my shadow box. It's going to fit really well in there. And then I also decided to use some bones from the Dollar Tree, some little plastic ones, and also some skulls that are just some fairy garden decor. And I have those left over. I think I got those at Dollar Tree, if not Dollar Spot. But I updated the colors just by distressing both with some antique white, the skulls and the plastic bones, just to give them more of a bone look. I think they were a little bit darker than I wanted, and I wanted them to match a little bit better. I also kind of updated the eyes with some black paint pen to make sure they're all colored in for the skulls here for the bottom. And these are going to be some fun decor pieces there for the bottom of our shadow box. I think they look way better and they kind of match together now, the same color, and I'm happy with how those turned out. Now, to decorate the bottom, I'm also going to use a little bit of moss. I use some of the brown floral moss from the Dollar Tree. I think you could also use Spanish moss pretty easily. I went ahead and did kind of a bed of them in here, securing it with a little bit of hot glue. Now, if you're going to use lights to light yours up like I did, make sure you do enough of this to cover the battery pack. I did have to pop mine back open to add a little bit more moss because I didn't make it thick enough. But then I'm going to glue my little black cat here onto the bottom of the frame. I'm going to glue my skulls into place. And remember, they can be thicker than the frame because you have the other frame on top, which is also going to form that shadow box look. And then we can do the bones in the middle. I think I have to move my cat over a little bit though, so that I have room for the bones. That one is kind of really long. I want them to look kind of like a pile of bones, something for like a Halloween cemetery look. And I went ahead and piled those on top of each other, attaching those with hot glue. I want my little ghost to hover and hang freely. So I just take the twine from the hanger and I glue that onto the inside of the frame, cutting off the excess string so it doesn't poke out the top. And then we can put it together like that. I think everything's going to fit really nicely. I put hot glue all the way along all the edges of the frame and then quickly add the frame on there. Again, both of them are kind of upside down like that to form that shadow box, and it turned out really well. It will stand up on its own like that, which is a really fun way to display it. Now I wanted to light mine up, so I'm going to use some battery operated like fairy garden twinkle lights here. These require two AA batteries. I always have plenty of AA batteries for crafting, AAA as well. I get those on Amazon because I use them a lot for crafting. And this is the 10 count lights and pretty easy. I did add some more moss on the inside of my frame there, as you can see, so that I can hide my battery pack here on the back by gluing that in place. And then I'll be able to easily turn that on and off. I wrap the excess cord around the battery pack, and then I'm going to go around and just glue the individual light bulbs down with a tiny, tiny dot of hot glue. And I want it to be lit up because the ghost is going to be hovering above like our little cemetery scene. I wanted it to almost look like little glowing orbs or spirits around the ghost. So I just kind of want it to be kind of sporadic and kind of wherever they kind of fit, just kind of going back and forth, gluing those onto that frosted cutting mat, which worked out really well. 10 ended up being the perfect amount for a project of this size to make it glow, and I think that looks so cute. Now, since I wanted the black frame and I wasn't able to pull that off, I'm going to use a little black creepy cloth and I'm just going to drape that over the frame. I think that's going to look really cute for Halloween. At first, I was just going to do the frame, but I kind of like the way it looks draped over the back since you can see all the way through it. So I'm going to cover the back with it as well. So I just draped over a partial piece I had of the black creepy cloth. And you can get this at Dollar General too. I think it's even cheaper. And then I'm going to leave the back covered, cutting off the excess material and just kind of draping that over, maybe making one side come down a little bit further than the other one, but I didn't want too much excess fabric there. And this is how it turned out, our little ghost shadow box. I love the twinkle light effect. I think it's really cute. This is what it looks like during the daytime with our little shadow box. And if you move it around, the ghost kind of moves and hovers around. But everything else is kind of glued in place here in the bottom because I don't want it to fall over when you're kind of playing around with it like that. So I glued all those pieces in there at the bottom. And then let me show you what it also looks like lit up. I was able to turn all the lights off in my house, but I was actually filming this during the daytime, so it was a little bit of light coming in from my front door. But I think you can kind of get the gist of it, how it looks lit up at night. I think it's super cute. I love the idea of the little ghost hanging down there. And if you don't have the little Dollar Tree ghost sign, again, the little wood ghost signs from the Dollar Tree, the little ornaments, would work really well for that project too. For the next DIY, I want to make some Halloween candles. So I picked up 2 black candle holders from the Dollar Tree in different sizes and 2 of these adorable bat candles from the Dollar Tree. They're real candles. Now, since we're going with a bat theme on this one, I also picked up some of the glitter black bat clips from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to simply pull them off the clips. And I wanted to customize the candle holders to make them look like bat candle holders. Now, there is a little bit of a tab on these from the clip. I'm going to try to snip that off. I was trying to find some strong scissors to be able to cut that off. I want to cut it off as close as I can to the bat so that plastic doesn't get in the way when I go to attach it to the candlesticks. These are just the black metal candlesticks from the Dollar Tree, and I thought we could decorate them, make it look like these bats are flying. So for the longer candlestick, I'm going to have the bat be higher so it looks like they're kind of flying away. Now, gluing to metal is tricky. I am going to use hot glue, but I'm also going to reinforce it. I'll show you how. I put some hot glue on the back of it, and I'm going to glue it at an angle like it's flying like that to the candlestick. Let that set up for a minute so it starts to dry. Then I'm going to go in with a little bit more hot glue here to glue that on, but it's still not super sturdy with the metal and the hot glue. So to reinforce it, I just got some black duct tape, and I'm just going to cut a thin strip, something that I can hide behind the bat, and we can blend this in. And I duct taped that around the candle holder. You won't be able to see this from the front, and I think that's going to reinforce it enough. So I'm going to DIY the second candlestick the same way. So this bat will be lower but flying in the same direction. Again, I hot glued it, let it set on there, and then hot glued it a little bit more here on the back. And once that starts to set up, I can use some duct tape to reinforce it. So that same black strip of duct tape I used before, I'm just going to cut another thin strip of it and put that behind the bat. And I think that's going to be enough, a combination to be able to hold it on there. You could use a stronger glue, but you're definitely going to have a longer drying period for that. And we were trying to do some easy Halloween DIYs today. Now, the duct tape was black, but you could see the edges of it. So I just went in there with a little bit of black acrylic and painted the edges of the duct tape so it all blends in with the bat, and it is not detectable even here on the back. It's just going to make it look better for candle holders. So there are 2 bat candle holders. I think it's perfect for these bat candles. I love these. If you can't find these, you can also paint shapes onto candles using paint pens. I have done that before for Halloween DIY. It turned out really cute. I'm going to simply take these out of the wrapper. One bad thing about these metal candle holders from the Dollar Tree is they don't hold the candles very snugly. So I'm going to use some hot glue here. In the smaller one, it's a little bit skinnier and it holds it a little bit better, so it didn't require a lot of hot glue. But this one is really large, so as you can see, I'm going to need a lot. So I just used a lot of hot glue on this one and put the candle inside and let that sit up. You could also melt some candle wax down in there to help reinforce that. I don't know why they make the tall one so large like that, but I definitely had to glue this candle in place. And this is how they look, our little bat candlesticks. So fun and easy for Halloween. I love the classic black bat silhouette theme for Halloween, and I always love a good black and white DIY. These would look really cute sitting just about anywhere. You could do them the same size and actually do them for your kitchen table. That would be really cute as well. Let me show you what they look like lit up in some low lighting. Really cute. I love the fact that they're real candles. I do use the Dollar Tree battery operated candles as well. They have their purpose, especially if you're going to have them in something that's not going to be safe to have them lit. But I always love a real candle. So during the day and also lit up. I think they're really fun. What I wanted to do was take one of these little holographic Halloween signs from the Dollar Tree and frame it to make it look really kind of fancy. I picked up the gold 11 by 14 photo frame from the Dollar Tree. I thought that would work well for this since it has a gold frame already. And it's a little bit smaller than the photo, but I think we can make it work. So I just went ahead and removed all the packaging. I'm going to use the glass and the frame for this, but I am going to distress it to make it look old, to kind of give it that creepy factor for Halloween. So I'm going to go ahead and take the frame apart, take the glass out, and we can start with the gold frame. I do want it to look old, and so I added a little bit of brown paint, just distressing that all over with a sponge to give me a little bit of kind of a rusty look to the frame. I thought that would be a fun vibe for Halloween, and just kind of blotted that with a paper towel. I definitely like the gold. I just wanted to add a little bit more character to it with the brown paint. And then this is the little holographic sign. It's like a picture of like a couple, but when you like go at different angles, it turns into a skeleton. There's even a monster that kind of pops out on the side. Did have a super sticky tag here on the back. I'm trying to remove there with a little bit of adhesive remover, but I don't want to damage it at all. And then I'm going to use the little piece of paper that came in the frame to kind of figure out what size I need to cut it down to. I noticed I needed to cut off really the entire top and bottom of the gold frame on there, but I'm definitely going to need to leave some on for the sides. So I cut it right about here and just trying to cut it the right size that it will fit inside the frame. And since we have a gold frame, I think that that's okay, even though the image isn't quite big enough. See that little monster kind of peeking out at the side? That's kind of a little jump scare on this. But I wanted to stress the frame and the glass and everything, but I definitely still want to get that holographic feel. I think that's really cool. So I just replaced the glass here in our little gold photo frame. I think that these photo frames are a really good deal at Dollar Tree. And then put the little holographic sign in there. Using a real frame with it, I think it's just going to make it look so much more high end. They get a little paint there on the back. I'm trying to clean that up a little bit. And then I can attach the back onto this. That looks really cool. And I didn't really need any other kind of backing. It's not see-through or anything like that. And I just went ahead and cleaned the glass. Then I'm going to go in and age the glass. This is similar to something you would do for a mirror, which we're going to do that on a project here. So I took a bottle, empty bottle, filled it with some hot water, and then mixed some brown acrylic paint in there. I want to age the glass to make it look old. And so I am then just going to spray it onto the glass and then going in there with a paper towel, just blotting that on. And the great thing about this is you can kind of add it in layers, dry it, kind of see if you're getting that distress look you're wanting. If you want more, just go in there with more. And this is such a quick, easy way to weather glass or mirrors. I really liked how this turned out. I used it on quite a few projects today, and that's why I mixed up so many. And I just used an old empty cleaning bottle instead of buying a spray bottle for that. See how the glass is all old now and it's all blotchy, but you can still see the holographic effects of the Halloween sign, which makes it look creepy. Really fun to try to take a picture of this because no matter the angle you are, it kind of changes the image. But here they are with like their little skeleton faces with the little monster on the edge. But I really like the distressing of the frame and the glass on that. I think it just makes it look so much better than it did before framing it like that. For this DIY, I picked up a bathtub from the toy aisle at the Dollar Tree and a skeleton mermaid. I actually got the skeleton mermaid at Spirit Halloween. This is the Dollar Tree version. I didn't use that one because it's not flexible. So I paid a little extra for the mermaid skeleton from Spirit Halloween so that it has joints that can bend, because I wanted to sit in this bathtub for Halloween decor for my bathroom. So I thought this would be really fun. I just removed that sticky sticker from the outside of the bathtub, and I want it to look like almost like a clawfoot tub. I'm going to try to get that look with some white wood beads from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to glue 4 of those onto the bottom of this. It is plastic, but it looks pretty nice, so I don't think you're going to be able to tell too much. And I glued all 4 of those down. Now, for some reason, these little wood beads from the Dollar Tree had a little bit of writing on one side of some of them, so I did have to touch them up with a little bit of white paint, even though they were already white. But I think you get that total clawfoot vibe by the shape of the bathtub, so really cute and easy. Now for the skeleton mermaid. You could also do this with a skeleton, person, I guess, I thought it would be really fun to kind of recreate like a scene from the classic movie Splash with the mermaid in the bathtub. So I'm going to give her some long hair. I found these little hair extensions with the Halloween costumes at Dollar Tree because I wanted her to have some long blonde hair to give her some mermaid hair, right? And so I found that like the Barbie dolls at my Dollar Tree did not have very much hair. So I found the hair extensions a better source for hair. And I'm going to cut it into some long pieces here, trying to keep them even. And I just take little bundles like that and I'm going to glue those on to the skeleton head. Now, there's really no clean, easy way to do this. I'm going to have a lot of it go one direction and then some of it go back. That way you won't be able to see where I glue it on. I just want as much coverage here as possible and to give her some long flowing mermaid hair. So I went ahead and glued my first bundle on like that, making sure everything was glued down. It does look a little bad there at the top, but once you start layering your hair, you can clean that up a little bit and kind of give the hair a little bit of a style, even though it's kind of wild hair, it's doll hair. And then I am going to glue on a little bit more here, all going in one direction like that. I did end up brushing this a little bit. It definitely sheds a lot, but it definitely worked well for this because I wanted her to have some long hair. I thought that would be fun for the mermaid theme. So I cut out another couple of bundles here. I'm going to glue this one now coming down the other direction like that, kind of forming a part over here on the side. And then I put glue on top of that part, and we're going to have this hair kind of go directly towards the back so that she will have some hair there in the back as well. And I think this turned out really fun. I got the skeleton mermaid at Spirit Halloween. I think it said $5. And again, you can get the one at the Dollar Tree occasionally, but it is a little bit harder to find. And I like the fact that there were joints on this one. So, really fun. And then I think she needs a little bit more hair. So, let's go ahead and cut some more down here for the front of her hair where it looks a little rough. And we can have this kind of going to this side as well. And just kind of adding hair until I think she has enough hair. A little bit going down here. Again, kind of keeping with the part in her hair. I want her to have long, blonde mermaid hair that can kind of go over the sides of the bathtub. As you can see, when you brush it, you do get a lot of shedding with that. So let's go ahead and put our skeleton mermaid in the bathtub with all of her long flowing hair. She can have one arm kind of go up, kind of doing a fun little expression like that. Have her tail kind of coming out at the side. I thought it'd be fun to light up her bubbles in her bubble bath. And so I'm going to use one of these little battery packs from the Dollar Tree. These are meant for bottles, but I'm going to use this one just because the battery pack is so much smaller. It's going to be easier to hide this behind the actual bathtub. For bubbles and water, I'm just using the clear glass beads from the Dollar Tree. And I just pour some of those in there and then start adding the lights. I'm going to secure that to the side with a little hot glue so it stays in place. And put the twinkle lights down inside so it looks like the bathtub is glowing. I thought that would be fun for Halloween. And added more of the glass beads. The glass beads were great because they look like water, but they also weigh it down since it is a plastic piece, making it a little bit sturdier. Then I'm going to go in with these beautiful blue glass beads I got from the Dollar Tree and top it off. I think these are going to look like bubbles, and I'm going to fill up the rest of the bathtub with these little blue glass beads. There's lots of fun options you can use for something that looks like bath water, but the fact that these light up and they look kind of iridescent, I think really goes with the theme. So this is how my little skeleton mermaid taking a bath looks during the day. Really fun. I'm going to put this in my bathroom for Halloween. It's definitely going to make me smile. It reminds me of that movie, the Splash movie. Was that from the 80s? I know I'm showing my age, but really fun mermaid movie I enjoyed when I was younger. And this is what it looks like lit up at night. It really glows. Since those clear glass beads and the blue glass beads are all clear, the light really goes through those really well, and it gives her a fun reflection as well. So I'm really glad that I decided to light this one up. Isn't she fun? You can also do this with just a regular skeleton person too, but I think the mermaid theme definitely fits my coastal bathroom. For this DIY, I'm going to take a square jar from the Dollar Tree. These are just from the kitchen aisle. And I wanted to do a spider web jar, something really fun and creepy for my kitchen, something that lights up for Halloween. So I just went ahead and removed the tag from the bottom. And I'm going to do a twine spider web. I thought it would give me a totally different look if I used twine instead of something white to do the spider web. And I thought the square would work out well because I could cover the front and the back with a spider web. So I just glued the twine corner to corner like that, wrap that around the jar lid, and we're going to do the opposite here on the other side, corner to corner, and cut off the excess twine. So I have going to do both of them at the same time if I can. Now I go to the opposite corner, I glue that onto the very bottom, glue that onto the corner here, and just reverse of what I did before, I wrapped that around, attaching it to the corner of this one with some hot glue and the other corner. So I have an X now on both sides of my jar. And we're going to do the front and the back with spider webs, but not the sides. So I also go top to bottom. And instead of cutting it, I just kind of wrap that around because we're also going to wrap the top of it with twine to avoid having to cut it too much. And I went ahead and did the other side too, going from top to bottom there with my web. And then I need one more to go kind of side to side. This one can go all the way around the jar. I start right there by gluing it to the center, wrapping that around, gluing it to the center on the other side, and wrapping it again to finish off the structure of the twine spider web. So this is what it looks like at this point. Now to do the interior sections, I'm going to start here with the closest one. And I'm going to hot glue that to the jar and to the twine itself, trying to get that arch shape of a spider web as I go all the way around the inside of it. We're going to be filling this with some fun, creepy items like skulls and Spanish moss as well. So when we light it up, it will look really creepy with the spider web, but it's also going to look really creepy with the stuff inside of it. Now I went ahead and did another row here of my webbing. Again, trying to arch it if I can. I do like that not all of my lines are evenly spaced. It makes the web look a little bit more natural. And I glued that all the way around for a second row. I really like how it looks with two. I think that's enough rows. So I turned it around and I'm going to do the same thing here on the back of it. So it's going to be a jar that you can kind of see from multiple directions. It's still going to look really cool. And I think this is the first time I've ever done a twine spider web. I really like the look of it, the vibe of it. I think it's kind of a fun thing to do. So I went here with my second row and did another row of webbing, and it is completely covered now. But I do want to do the jar lid too. Since I'm lighting it up with twinkle lights, I need to leave the lid off of the jar. So I don't want you to be able to see the screw on part of the jar. So I just glued on some more twine and simply wrapped it with twine until it is completely covered. And that's going to give it a fun decorative look here too for the top of the jar. And this is what it looks like so far. I think it's really cute. Now for the lights, I wanted to do the larger one, the 30 count string lights from the Dollar Tree. And I got these from like the hardware section or like, I guess like the flashlight section at the Dollar Tree. And there's 30 of them on here. They are the white, yellow, white lights. They're very hard to unwind. You really have to take your time unwinding these. I unwound about half of mine by simply going through, and then I went the battery pack through it a couple of times. The reason I'm showing you this is because I've had to throw these away before because they got so tangled. So you have to be very careful unwinding them because, again, 30 count, it's very long. They do run on 2 AA batteries. I went ahead and popped those in there. The reason I wanted to use the 30 count instead of the 10 is because I want this to be a light display for my kitchen counter, so I want there to be lots of light. Now to fill up the jar itself, I'm going to use Spanish moss. I either get the Spanish moss at Walmart or Amazon anymore because I can't find it at Dollar Tree anymore. And I just wrap some of the lights around the Spanish moss, filling that in. I want to add a couple of the little Dollar Tree plastic skulls. So I go ahead and add one there to the bottom. It's going to look creepy inside there. And cover it up with more of the moss and the lights. I just kind of cut off a section of Spanish moss, add that, add twinkle lights, and kind of keep going back and forth. I'm also going to do another skull about halfway up here, kind of pointing out the other direction. But I really think that's all the skulls I'm going to need in there. You'll be able to see those through the spider web. And I just continue to add the Spanish moss and the lights. And as you can see, the 30 count light goes really far. I'm not going to hide the battery pack inside there. I'm going to actually just hide that behind the jar. Something simple where I can turn it on and off, but you won't be able to see it through all of that Spanish moss and everything. Now we did the spider web, but we still need to do a spider. I'm going to do one of the little black spider clips from the Dollar Tree, just removing the spider from the clip itself. And we can glue this onto our spider web to finish this off. This was such an easy DIY and it really looks so cool lit up at night. I think it's going to look so cute in my kitchen for Halloween decor because Halloween's one of those fun holidays where you can decorate all of your rooms. And this is how it turned out. This is what it looks like turned on, but like during the day with the lights on. Very cute. I love the idea of the twine spider web, but as you can see those little skulls through the spider web. That's why I wanted to decorate the inside of the jar too. And with the lights off, this is what it looks like all lit up. Definitely lots of lights on that 30 count. They also have like a multicolor of that one if you want to pick some of those up for Christmas. I think they're going to be really fun and versatile for DIYs because sometimes 10 of the lights is definitely not enough. So again, this is what it looks like during the day with the lights on, but lit up. And then this is what it looks like lit up at night. Such a fun DIY. I love how that turned out. For this easy Halloween DIY, I picked up a solar light, like a little solar light spotlight at Dollar Tree, and one of these skull trays. It's very iridescent with purple, and I thought it would look really cool and spooky lit up at night with a solar light. So I want to take this tray and make it into a yard stake, something that I can put behind the little spotlight to make it light up. For this stake itself, I'm going to use just some wood from one of the easel kits from the Dollar Tree. I thought this is already staked at the end there with a little spike. It's going to make it easier to put it in the ground, and it's just about the right height. There is a little plastic ridge that goes around at the bottom of this, so I do need to notch this out a little bit to be able to attach this flat to the skull. I wanted to use something sturdy. Metal would work as well. It would be a little bit harder to attach, but I thought these wood pieces would be perfect. I just used a flathead screwdriver and a hammer to make a little notch in the wood, making sure I didn't go through all the way, only about a third of the way through, so I can kind of notch that on and be able to attach that to the back. Making outdoor yard stakes can be a little hard to get something that holds up well in weather, but I think that I was able to do that. It'll stay up at least until Halloween, right? I'm going to paint the whole thing black here just so it will kind of blend in with the Halloween decor and with the solar light that we're going to use to light it up. So I just painted all of the edges black. I want the little pointy edge down to go into the ground. And then I'm first going to attach it with some hot glue and then sit it right on that notch where it goes straight up in the middle of the skeleton nose. The next step is to reinforce it with a little duct tape. I take some black duct tape and duct tape that on as well. So we have hot glue, we have duct tape, and then I'm also going to reinforce it from the other side because it's really hard to get these things to stay together in Florida. I'm going to take a nail and put it right through the nose of the skull because I know that there is wood there, a little tiny nail to reinforce that, and that's going to make it sturdier as well. So I use 3 things to make sure this does not fall apart. I'm going to use a little purple paint pen just to kind of blend that in a little bit. But this DIY was so easy. It looks so fun lit up at night. Let me show you how it looks in my landscaping in front of my house with my other Halloween decor. During the day, it's really pretty too. As you can see, it's purple. It's very iridescent. And I put it like, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches behind my solar light. And I have that tilting all the way up so it can still charge, but will shine a spotlight up at night. This is what it looks like at night lit up. And I have this next to my house, so it'd be a fun decoration for the trick-or-treaters when they come here on Halloween. But as you can see, since it's so iridescent, when you light it up, it looks really beautiful. And it kind of looks different as you walk past it because it kind of changes, right? So again, this is what it looks like during the day, and this is what it looks like lit up at night. So fun and easy. For this DIY, I'm going to make a snake candle. So I picked up a candlestick from the Dollar Tree and one of these little plastic snake cups. I thought this was really cool. This is similar to the one they have with the skeleton hand, and I've DIY'd with that before by removing the cup. This one was definitely attached a lot more than the skeleton hand one was, but I'm going to try to break the plastic cup out of there since it was really glued on to the bottom. Now, make sure to use some eye protection when you're doing this, even if you put like sunglasses or something like that on, because these little plastic pieces, when you break them out, can kind of shoot out in all directions, and you definitely want to be safe with that. But I just used a pair of pliers and broke it all out. Even when I got to the bottom, I was able to kind of pry that apart and get that out. It was really in there. But as you can see, it was really only attached to the bottom. It wasn't attached to the sides of the snake, so we didn't cause any damage there. I want to attach that to the top of the candlestick like that to make a snake candle holder. I thought that would be really creepy for Halloween. I wanted a really strong glue for that since I'm doing metal to plastic. So I'm going to use this multi-purpose cement from the Dollar Tree and put that all around the top of the metal candlestick. And it's a perfect size for this. And I put a little glue on that as well. And I am going to set this aside. If you were short on time, I'm sure you could use hot glue, but hot glue and metal doesn't always work well together. So I let that dry. And then I'm going to go in and spray paint our gold snake black. So the whole thing is black. And I'm just using a matte black spray paint and just going all over our little textured snake. So it's all kind of uniform, all the same color. If you wanted to do the whole thing in gold too, I think that would be really cool. Either one would work for Halloween, I think. Now that I let that dry, I can go ahead and attach a candle. I'm just going to use one of the glass votives from the Dollar Tree. I wanted something small because the metal candlestick is not too strong. And definitely wanted to use a real candle. So I'm going to use that multi-purpose cement to glue one of the little glass jars in there. And the snake doesn't fit tightly against it, but it kind of swirls around, which I think is creepy. And I think it will give me really fun shadows for a Halloween candle. You can use these for candlesticks for your dining table or just use it for Halloween decor. Candles and Halloween definitely works really well together. And this was such a fun, easy little Halloween DIY. I really love how it turned out. When I saw the snake cup, I just knew I needed to use it for something, and a candle just works. So let me show you what it looks like lit up at night. I think the little swirly snake around the candle gives you a really cool effect. And as you can see, it gives you like a snake shadow around the room when you have it lit up like that. So really fun and easy, a little snake candle Dollar Tree DIY for Halloween. For this DIY, I picked up a spider from the Dollar Tree and a baby doll. And I thought we could make like a creepy doll head spider. I thought that would be a really fun thing to try. So I picked up one of these tinsel spiders, hoping I could just pop the legs off and use the legs. It was actually easier than I thought it would be. With a little bit of heat, I was able to pop these off. There's little tabs that hold the spider legs onto the tinsel spider. And it's just a matter of pulling that off. And there are little plastic tabs there. I'm going to clean those up a little bit. And then for the baby doll, this is the only baby doll I could find at the Dollar Tree. Most of it is plush. I thought we could always use the baby hands for something creepy for Halloween as well. But basically, I wanted the doll head. So I am taking the clothes off of this and the stuffing, and there's a little zip tie holding that on. And it gave me this cute little doll head, but I thought we could probably make it creepy if we tried hard enough. Now, the plastic tabs do kind of get in the way when you're going to attach the doll head, so I'm just going to snip those off with a pair of scissors. My plan for this kind of came from Toy Story, the toy of, what was it, the Erector Set Spider, I think, and the doll head. So I thought that we could do a fun baby head spider, but make it creepy. So to make this little cute doll creepy, I mixed some black and white acrylic paint together because I want it to have like a gray undertone and not be so cute. So I just went over with a little sponge stencil dauber here, and we're going to paint everything on this. I'm not going to go too thick on the face because I do want to be able to see where the eyes were, but I want all of it to be painted gray. Now, I thought that that gray was a little bit darker than I wanted, so I went in with a little bit more white to lighten that up a little bit. And I think that's more of kind of like the zombie color that I was looking for. So I'm going to go over all of it again with that gray paint. I want to use a couple of different paint techniques on this to make it look really old and creepy since it was such a cute little doll head. And I think that gray is going to be a great undercoat for that. Once I get that all painted that color, I went in with some white. So I have a smaller stencil dauber and I'm just going to sponge a little bit of white all over just to break it up and make it look kind of crazy. I even did like the hair. I think the hair is going to need to be a different color though, so it will stand out a little bit. It kind of blends all in with the baby doll head. And I just kind of use a little baby wipe there to kind of blend my paint together after I add it. I had a little brown paint mixed with water in a spray bottle, and I thought I could try aging it with that. It did work, but I ended up kind of adding so many layers to this. I don't know if you can really see that step too much. But for the hair, I want some of the hair to look like little hair pieces, at least here, like on the front and on the back, where you'll be able to see individual hairs. So I just went around the border of the hair with a black paint pen, just drawing on lines to represent hair. And I wanted to have creepy dark eyes. So I'm going to just put the whole eye socket dark black with my paint pen as well. Then for the rest of the hair, I went in there with some black acrylic and just sponged that all over. I will distress that, but I definitely wanted it to stand out from the rest of the doll head because again, we're going for that creepy factor. And I'm going to kind of touch it up here in the front with a little individual pieces of hair, trying to make that look a little bit better. Once it's dry, I went in and distressed it with that gray color that I used for the base coat. Also distressing the eyes a little bit so they're just not like perfect black circles. And it's one of those things where kind of went back and forth distressing until I was happy with it, especially like for the eyes and stuff like that on here. Definitely want it to look old and creepy. So I thought a little bit of like ivory paint too to get a little bit of a skin tone in there too. And so I distressed it with a little bit of like an antique white color too. So it's not all just the plain white and the gray. And just kind of distress that all over until I was happy with that. Now, I thought we could make the mouth look creepy too by painting the inside of it black. It had a cute little expression on its face, but I was able to kind of almost paint it into more of a frown using a little bit of black paint. And that kind of made the little doll look unhappy, which makes it look a little bit creepier. A little bit more distressing on this one, and I think this doll head is ready to go. Super creepy. We can attach it to the spider. As you can see, the spider is a little bit bigger than the doll head, but I have a plan to kind of make it all kind of work together. I'm going to put some hot glue here on the bottom of the doll head and glue it to that plastic base of the spider. You don't have to use this specific spider from the Dollar Tree, but I think this is the one closest to the size you're going to want if you're using this doll head. Once I glued it on, I flipped it over and added a little bit more hot glue just to reinforce that here on the bottom. And then I'm also going to use a little bit of black felt. I just cut down a circle to give me something to glue to, and I'm going to glue that on the bottom as well. Just something to kind of reinforce it a little bit since I'm just gluing plastic to little black plastic pieces. Now the neck kind of looks unfinished, so I'm going to go back in there with some more black felt and kind of make a collar to go around the baby here. Just to make that look a little bit better. I don't want you to be able to see the plastic edges of the doll head like that. And I just glued that onto the back, wrapping that around, and I'm going to overlap that slightly. I think that looks really cute, but I thought that if we could add a little Spanish moss or something like that to it, we could make it look even more creepy. But as is, it's pretty cute. So I did grab some Spanish moss. I've been having trouble finding this at my Dollar Tree. I've been having to get this on Amazon and Walmart lately. But I'm going to glue some of this onto that black collar that we made for it. Just kind of wrapping that around. I think it's just going to give it another little spooky vibe to go with the spooky doll head. And I love how this Halloween decor turned out. My son's definitely going to want to steal this for his unit at college for sure. It's right up his alley. But very creepy doll head spider. I just finished it up here with a little bit more Spanish moss, just kind of gluing a little bit on it at a time. I don't want it to be too wild, so I also trimmed it up. Now, this is how it turned out. Our baby doll head spider. So fun and creepy. I think I made that cute little doll definitely look creepy just with some paint and distressing. But I think the spider legs really set it off. You could also do it in a jar or something like that if you wanted to do a creepy doll head. But I love the idea of the spider. Isn't that fun? I think that's so cool. For this Halloween DIY, I picked up a glass vase. I actually got this half price at the Salvation Army, but it's the same one they have at the Dollar Tree. And then from the Dollar Tree, I picked up one of these battery operated hanging lights for the top of the vase. It has twinkle lights inside of a light bulb. I just went ahead and removed the metal hanger because I don't need that, and I removed the light bulb, and then I just have twinkle lights to decorate the inside of the vase. I picked up these little Halloween tree ornaments from the Dollar Tree of little black bats, and I thought we could suspend these inside the vase to make it look like they're flying, and then we can use the lights from that light for the top of the vase. I thought that'd be a really fun effect, and it gives me something to tie the ornaments to. There are 3 bats in the package, but my vase is really only big enough for 2, so I'm only going to be able to use 2. I do go ahead and use the ornament hangers they came with, just tying those onto them so I can make it look like it is flying. You could also use fishing line if you wanted it to be completely invisible, but I kind of like this silver glitter feel. I think that looks cute for Halloween. So I'm going to hang it down inside the vase like that. So let me go ahead and tie up this second one as well. I just simply tie it to the ornament hanger and leave one string like that. So I'm going to need to hang them at different heights to make this work, to make it look like they are flying inside the vase. So I just take some hot glue on the inside here, or the outside, I guess, of that plastic circle on the inside, and kind of test it to see how long that is and how long I need to hang the other one, to kind of stagger those in there. And then I'm going to add some more hot glue and glue the other bat on the other side. So one bat is hanging from one side of it, and the other bat is hanging from the other side of that little plastic circle on the inside of this light. The fact that it's black already, it works perfect for Halloween like that. And I can dangle those down inside the vase. So just testing that out to make sure that I got that right. It looks good. You can turn the bats so your faces go the same direction. Now to fill up the vase itself, I'm going to do something really easy. I just did a little bit of brown floral moss from the Dollar Tree, but not too much. And I'm going to use some of the Halloween fairy garden items to decorate. I thought maybe this little witch's cauldron that says beware would be cute down there. So I'm going to glue that into place, which is one reason why I didn't want to use too much of the floral moss, because I want to be able to glue that to the bottom of the vase like that so it won't fall over. And then I think I'll use a little black cat with the little witch's hat. I think that would be cute down there underneath the bats. So I hot glued that in place as well. Really easy. This DIY was so easy to do. We have the twinkle lights already. They kind of glow like a blue light, which is almost like a bluish purple light, which is perfect for Halloween. I just put that down inside the vase and hang my bats like that. And I can attach it with hot glue. You don't have to attach it with hot glue, but I went ahead and did that just to kind of tack it down and glue the little light on the top. I didn't like the fact that the plastic on the top was white and made it really obvious against the black, so I just went ahead and painted that part too, and that doesn't interfere with the switch or anything like that on the top to turn it on and off. But a very simple vase DIY. I love the fact that it lights up for Halloween. I love a good light up project. I had a way to make my little bats fly inside of it by stringing some of the little ornaments up. They have some really cute little goofy faces on them. We have our little black cat, our little beware sign there in the bottom of the vase too. So kind of a nice large project. Let me show you what it looks like lit up at night too. Very simple way to get the twinkle lights. They are definitely inside that little light bulb on these. And I think these come in like silver, gold, black, maybe white, I'm not sure, of the little lights from the Dollar Tree. And I just found those like in like the battery operated candle aisle at my Dollar Tree. But I think this DIY turned out really cute for Halloween. What do you think? For the next DIY, I'm going to make a little ghost terrarium using one of the little glass fish bowls from the Dollar Tree. This is the cheaper one from the Dollar Tree, so it's not very large. And we're going to make a very simple little Halloween scene in this. I thought we could use a ghost. I picked these up at Dollar General. They were $3 for 3 ghosts, and so only $1 a piece. I'm going to use the ghost with the top hat. I think he's really cute. And a little tombstone that I have from Fairy Garden Decor. I think I got that one from Target Dollar Spot. And we can do a little scene in here. So I'm going to do my little Dollar General ghost here towards the back and my little tombstone more towards the front because it's smaller. And I wanted to have like a tree effect. So I'm going to use some of this like black, like willow from the Dollar Tree and cut some off. It is a little too tall, but I can trim it down. And I have a couple pieces that I can put together to make that look like a spooky forest behind the ghost. I just put some glue on the bottom of those and glued those to the glass jar like that, trying to make sure they stay upright. So this is what my scene looks like so far. It's not very big, so it doesn't take a lot of items to decorate this, and I want it to look like a little creepy terrarium. So I'm going to use some of the brown floral moss and just pull that apart into individual pieces and fill up the bottom of the terrarium. So easy. You could really use any of the smaller Halloween items that you have. For miniatures, you can also use like the little Halloween erasers from the Dollar Tree. They have some cute ones of like some spiders, some eyeballs, different creepy things, even a ghost as well. But this is how it turned out. A little tiny Halloween decoration that you could decorate just about any corner of your home. A little Halloween terrarium. And how easy was that? I really like these ghosts from Dollar General. The little top hat's super cute. But it kind of stays with my black and white theme that most of my Halloween decor is. And so it coordinates really well. Isn't that so cute? And so easy. For this DIY, I've got one of these little motion activated skulls from the Dollar Tree with lights and sound. And I thought we could make something cool using one of these Dollar Tree frames, something that I can put next to my doorbell to kind of creep out the trick-or-treaters. And it'll also let me know when they're here for Halloween, right? I'm just going to hang it with this frame. So I thought the frame was very fancy. I thought that would be really cute for this. It is gold, which you could leave it gold, definitely. I wouldn't mind it to be black though. So I went in here with some flat black spray paint and went over the entire frame with it. I think these frames from the Dollar Tree are so cool. I'm going to use the original black backing that was in it and just kind of frame the little skull and make it look a little bit better. It like lights up with green eyes and it makes some creepy sounds. So I think the trick-or-treaters will definitely get a kick out of it for sure. Definitely need some batteries. I don't seem to put batteries in anything at the Dollar Tree anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and pop 3 batteries in the back of this. It has an option to turn it on where it's motion activated, but also you can turn it on where it's just lights. And I'm going to have it attached to this, but I can still take the back off the frame to be able to turn it on and off or to replace the batteries. But I did want to distress the skull. So I just went over it with some brown paint, trying to get down into the teeth of the skull. And then I'm just going to go in there with a rag, wiping off the excess to distress my skull. I just want to paint this to make it look a little bit better because it was all just white plastic. And anytime you can distress a skull, I think it's going to turn out. The eyes are dark and the nose is dark, but I distressed those with brown too because why not? And there's a spider web on the skull head with a spider too. And I just want to distress that. I don't really want to have the spider in the way, but it popped off really easily and I can always reattach that. So I popped that off and then continued to go in there distressing with the brown paint and wiping that with a rag. I definitely wanted to bring in the bone color though, so I did follow that up with a little bit of the antique white acrylic paint, just kind of distressing that all over here on the face of the skull. And I'm also going to distress like the rest of the head, trying to get in between the different spiderweb pieces that are kind of poking up and distressing that all over and blotting that with the rag to make sure I don't wipe off too much of that. You can kind of go back and forth with your colors, your antique white and your brown to really kind of get the look you're going for. but I think the skull looks so much better painted. I'm really glad that I decided to distress with this one. Now, I do want a little bit of a contrast for the spider webs. I want them to be white instead of that antique white. So I went in there with one of my Posca paint pens in just white. And it is raised up the spider web on this. So it's really easy to paint this. I just kind of went over one piece at a time just so they will pop a little bit against the ivory. They're not going to be too different in color, but enough to kind of make it look a little bit more 3D here, which it is. And I just went ahead and painted all of those. I definitely want to put the spider back on there, but it was really easy that I could just pop it off like that to paint these areas next to it and underneath of it without worrying about getting paint on the black spider. And I'm going to glue it just to make sure it stays on. I put some glue in the hole and it pops in there. And then there's two little clips on the side that holds the rest of the spider, and it just popped right back in. Now that my frame is dry, I can go ahead and put the black cardboard piece back in there and the back of the frame. It has a hanger on the back, so I can hang that easily above my doorbell. I think that's going to be really fun. And it fits on here perfectly. It like goes right underneath the little fancy area there at the top. I'm going to add some hot glue to the back and make sure to turn it on first, and some hot glue here on the jaw, and glue it to the frame itself, not to the backing. That way, again, I can still take the back off to turn it on and off if I need to, or to change the batteries. But I do want to make sure it is glued on there really well. And this is how it turned out. I think it's a really creepy little doorbell for Halloween. I'll probably scare my husband for this, and the mailman will probably really love all of the sound effects, I'm sure, or the Amazon delivery driver for sure. But this is what it looks like during the day. Distressing the skull definitely made it look a lot creepier. I really like that look of it, but I love that Dollar Tree frame. I think it's so cool. And this is what it looks like lit up when it is motion activated, and it makes like a oh sound. I didn't capture that, but a really creepy little Halloween sound. But I think that the frame really kind of makes it look fancy and makes it look like a Halloween doorbell, kind of. So I'm really glad I found a way to craft with those. I thought that they were a really interesting find from the Dollar Tree. For this Halloween DIY, I picked up this sign from the Dollar Tree. It is a house and it has a stand on it. You know, a lot of these Halloween products from the Dollar Tree say $1.25 on them, and they're charging you $1.50, which Dollar Tree can probably get in trouble for that. Kind of false advertising, right? But I went ahead and removed the tag, and I think I'll just DIY the back of this so I don't have to cover up all the writing on the other side. So I just removed the tag, and then I went in with some just some cheap contact paper from the Dollar Tree to cover the writing on the other side. I guess you could leave it as a two-way sign if you wanted to. I wanted mine to have kind of a finished back. So I cut off a piece of that contact paper larger than the haunted house itself and simply smoothed that onto the back. That way, when I go to paint this, make it look like a haunted house, I don't have to worry about covering up all the words on there, and the back is just going to be a cleaner surface for me to craft. I kind of cut off the excess material and then use a sanding sponge to get a perfect cut. There's a lot of roof line going on the sides on this, and so a little tricky to get around all of those places. I found it a little bit easier just to go in with my scissors and cut it as close as I can to the house before I go in there with my sanding sponge to get a perfect cut. But I always like to have a finished back on my project if I can. So that's one reason why I did that step for sure. Now, I have a plan to try to decorate this, make it look like a little haunted house. We can use some items that I got at Dollar Tree to decorate it as well. I thought the haunted house should be black, so I went ahead and painted the entire thing with just some black acrylic paint. It had a purple base stand on it, which is kind of cool, but kind of took away from my haunted house, so I'm going to go ahead and paint that black as well. But as you can see how easy it was to paint it since I used the back of it instead of the front. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the stand, also kind of distressing the edges of it as well, like that. And I also want to paint the stand in the back, but I don't want it to get all over my contact paper. So I did use a little bit of painter's tape back here to protect that while I painted the back of my stand black as well. I thought that would look really creepy for a haunted house. And then we could add some other textures too. I mixed some black and white paint together to make it gray we can distress it with. And I also wanted to try to do a door. I found these stickers at the Dollar Tree, and this large arch sticker I thought would make a perfect door. It is gold though, and I wanted mine to be more of a gray or a silver. So I went ahead and painted the sticker gray. And I kind of liked the metallic look of it before, so I'm also going to add a little metallic to that too. I use that same gray paint to distress my black haunted house just by kind of dragging, dry brushing that along in one direction, not too thick for distressing to make it look old and weathered. And then I also went over my little plastic door. I think it's kind of a window, but we're going to make it a door with some silver acrylic paint to make it look metallic and shiny too. And then I can peel and stick. Now, these stickers are really sticky, but I thought I would reinforce it by adding a little hot glue here in the back to make the door for a haunted house. You could also build that out with some popsicle sticks if you don't have any of those stickers. For the windows, I found these great little wooden windows on Temu. I thought these would be great for crafting. As you can see, there's all different ones inside this package. If I can find the link, I'll put that in the description. But you know, Temu things kind of sell out all the time, but you should be able to find them on there. And I'm trying to decide which windows. I was trying to decide if I wanted to do like variety. I really kind of like the kind of rectangular shaped ones. I think those kind of look creepy for a haunted house. And then I definitely wanted to do a different window for the attic. For the roof line, I'm going to use some more wood. I have some of these little bamboo sticks I get on Amazon. I have these linked in my Amazon shop. They are great for crafting. You could also use popsicle sticks for this, but I wanted some wood here for little bump outs for the roof line. So I went ahead and cut 2 pieces of those down, just cutting those down with my miter scissors for the roof line. Over here, the roof kind of goes the other direction, which makes it a little bit more complicated, but I'm just going to kind of follow the roof line like I did before, cutting 3 pieces down to cover that. On the side, as you can see, there's 2 different sets of roof lines, and I decided to kind of ignore those because it got a little complicated. And I thought it'd be fun to have all these little bump outs on our haunted house to make it a little bit more 3-dimensional. Now for the wood itself, I just go ahead and stain the bamboo pieces with some antique wax by Waverly. And I'm also going to stain the windows that color. Just kind of blotting that excess stain, and then I'm going to attach them to our haunted house with some glue here. And I really like the little bump out portions. I definitely love those windows. I picked those up because I thought they'd be really good for like fairy gardens and stuff like that too, but they're perfect for a haunted house. And I am just going to glue all of my roof line on. These are my windows. I accidentally spilled all of my antique wax by Waverly over there, but I was able to clean it up and still use it. And I can put the rest of it back in the jar. Ah, I hate spilling stuff like that, especially antique wax by Waverly. Very messy. But I went ahead and stained all of these pieces, and now I can hot glue these on. This is going to be my little attic window up here. We can do 2 windows for the second story. I thought it'd be cute to have a little ghost peeking out of one of them. So I just used my white paint pen and drew a simple little ghost on there. And it was a little blotchy, so I went in and filled it in with some white acrylic to make that white really pop against the black haunted house. A very simple little ghost. You could also use like a little ghost sticker or maybe even like a window cling. But a ghost is really easy. Just draw on 2 little oval black eyes, and I can have him peeking through my window, which I think is really cute for the haunted house theme. And we're going to glue this on. I really like the black and the stained wood together. I think that looks really cute. The silver door down below too goes well with it. And then I'm just going to simply hot glue all of my windows on. You could always have another monster peeking out if you wanted to. And then I thought we could board up one of the windows. I thought that would be cute. So I'm going to do that with just a popsicle stick. I'm going to cut down a longer piece and we can kind of crisscross this. I don't want to overlap it. So the other direction, I just cut down 2 smaller pieces. And these are just the popsicle sticks that you get at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to go ahead and paint those gray to kind of match the distressing of the haunted house and to kind of be different than the stained wood. And so I just kind of painted those, kind of staining the popsicle stick and attaching those with hot glue. I think I'll board up this bottom window And that looks really cute for a haunted house theme. And then I thought it'd be cute to cover the entire haunted house with spider webs. So I picked up some of the spider webs from the Dollar Tree and just grabbed a piece, just stretching that out, making it look thin and creepy. I'm going to go around the roof line here, wrap that around the house, can wrap it around this side of the roof, and then just have the web covering the entire house. I think that's going to look really creepy. Just using the different angles and corners of the house to kind of catch the webbing on. And then I can kind of gather it all together here on the back and tack it down with a little bit of hot glue so it stays in place. But it definitely gives it that creepy haunted house feel. And we can always add a spider to that as well. I really like the vibe that that gives it. Then to decorate it, I'm going to use some of the little Halloween fairy garden items. This package has a witch in it, so I thought that would be really cute. That can be her little house, so she can be right here on the porch. And then I have a little jack-o'-lantern with a black cat peeking out. I thought that would be cute. And then there's a little Halloween sign here. I think that would be perfect for the porch. So I'm going to hot glue these all in place using the ledge as the porch of the haunted house. And then I'm also going to add a little brown floral moss to make it look creepy in between all the little pieces. And for the rest of the ledge, just gluing little pieces of that to it. And I really love how this turned out. I'm really glad I picked up this little Halloween sign. I thought I could make it into something really cute. And the fact that it already has the base in it just makes it a little bit easier to make a standing sign. I like my witch, but she has some bright orange hair and a bright orange bow, which I thought I could tone down a little bit. So I used my gray paint pen and went in and gave her gray hair instead of the bright orange, just personal preference. I like my little witches to have gray hair. And then I am just going to kind of touch her up a little bit. I made the bow green, but then I thought maybe black would it look even better. So I went over that with a black paint pen, and I like how she looks now. Now for the spider, I use some of these little spiders I got on Amazon. They're just little tiny spiders, and I glue one large one, one small one on there to kind of explain the spider webs going over the entire haunted house. And this is how it turned out, our little haunted house sign. Using supplies from the Dollar Tree, the windows were from Temu, and the bamboo was from Amazon. So a few stores to put this together, but I really love how it turned out. I think it's so fun and perfect for Halloween. What do you guys think about my little haunted house DIY? Now, the next item, I picked up one of the mirrors from the Dollar Tree, and I thought we could try the car window cling. They have one of a skeleton, and I thought we could make a creepy little Halloween mirror. I think the mirror is perfect for Halloween because it looks kind of fancy and old. I'm going to go ahead and take it apart. You do have to unscrew the hanger on this because it holds the back on. And I'm going to pop everything out. I want to age this and make it look really creepy. I had thought about adding some of that black willow to the sides to make it look like trees, but I really like the frame itself. I don't think it really needs anything else. It is black distressed with gold, and I don't mind the gold, but I wanted it to be mostly black. So I just went over and sponged on some black acrylic paint all over, distressing it, but leaving a little bit of the gold showing through. But I definitely wanted to have a darker vibe than it had before. And I think that looks pretty good. So just one coat of that. For the mirror, I'm just going to go ahead and clean it. And then we are going to age that. I'm going to use the water mixed with the brown acrylic paint. But I'm going to go ahead and place it in here before I do that. And I'm going to go ahead and add the back, put it all back together. It has like the little plastic pieces that hold the back on. And then again, you can screw your hanger back on. This would be cute too if you wanted to make like a standing mirror. I'm going to use mine as a hanging mirror, so I definitely want that hanger back on there. But before I distress it, I did want to add the little face, and I thought the little skeleton, waving skeleton, the car sticker would be a really fun thing to try to craft with. And so it's a really sticky sticker. So I'm going to peel and stick that to the mirror. And it's got a clear background, so it's kind of like a window decal mixed with a sticker. It's a little bit bigger than the mirror itself, but I think that's fine. I definitely want all of the skeleton face and body, and I can just have some of the hand get cut off. So I went ahead and placed that on the mirror and then just used a razor blade over here to cut off the part that was a little bit too big. But I think that will look really fun peeking behind the aged mirror. Now, this is the brown acrylic paint mixed with some warm water to make sure it dissolved. And I just sprayed that all over the mirror like that and the decal. I want to age both of them. And then I blotted everything with a paper towel. Just like distressing the glass, the mirror is very similar. And it's going to give you this aged mirror look. Now, I like how that looks. I'm going to go ahead and do one more coat to see if I like it even better. I want it to be really kind of cloudy and discolored like an old mirror. And I think that really looks fun combined with that antique looking frame for the mirror. And so I just did that a couple of times till I was happy with it. And it definitely looks aged and creepy now. I think perfect for Halloween. So this is how it turned out, our little Halloween mirror DIY. Having the skeleton on there, I think, is really creepy and cute. You could also do like some kind of a creepy face on there. I think that would be fun. Or you could just leave it a mirror. Just antiquing it like this makes it like look very kind of creepy for Halloween. For the next Halloween DIY, I wanted to make a fun sign. So I picked up this little frame from the Dollar Tree. I thought that this was very ornate. It would look really cute for Halloween. And then this is a thrifted sign I got at the Salvation Army. I got it there on Labor Day. They were having half price, so only $1.50 for this nice size sign. And I'm just going to remove the tags here from the back. The back is already black and it has sides that are perfect for the theme I'm going to do. So I'm going to leave those as is. I do want to cover up all of the writing here that was on the front of it, which is now going to be the back of my sign. So I just took some cheap contact paper and I just cut a piece larger than I need. I like using the wood one. And I'm going to just simply stick that onto the back of the sign to cover up the writing back there. Once I have that on there, I can just use my sanding sponge to give me perfect cuts on all four sides. And I don't have to worry about the back or painting it or anything like that. Now for this side, it was skinned up a little bit being a thrifted sign. So I'm just going to put a thin coat of black paint all over just to touch it up and make it look a little bit fresher. For the frame, I'm going to stain it with some Antique Wax by Waverly. I think it would be pretty too if you painted it gold metallic. I kind of went back and forth which direction I wanted to do, but I ended up just using a thin coat of Antique Wax by Waverly all over and kind of wiping off the excess with a baby wipe. I don't want it to be too dark. Now for the picture, I designed a picture to go inside. I did a witch silhouette on a creepy like Halloween wallpaper. And I printed it out on cardstock. You could also do paper as well for this. Cardstock's just a little bit easier to Mod Podge. And I'm going to cut this down to size. If you would like this free printable, I will include it in the description of today's video with a link so that you can print it out. I sized it to this frame. You might want to do it at 110% though, because it is exactly the same size as the inside of the frame. And I'm going to try to center it when I go to add it to my sign. So I'm going to make some reference points. So when I use the Mod Podge, I know exactly where to place my witch image. And we're going to do just a fun little witch silhouette sign for Halloween. I thought the frame there from the Crafter Square at the Dollar Tree was perfect for this. So I just put Mod Podge here on the back of my cardstock, used a dry paper towel to lay that on there. And the great thing about cardstock is you don't really have to wait. You can go ahead and Mod Podge over the top of it, which is what I do to seal that on there. And I don't really care about the Mod Podge around it being a different finish because that is going to be covered up by the frame, but I definitely wanted to make sure that it was sealed onto my sign. Now we can add the frame. I'm going to simply hot glue that on by doing some hot glue around the inner frame here and gluing that onto our witch silhouette like that. It was a perfect size for this thrifted sign, and it will stand up on its own, an easy sign. You could also do this with a Dollar Tree square sign as well. And this is how it turned out. I think it's really fun. I picked up these little wooden frames from the Dollar Tree, like in different square shapes, also some circle shapes, but they're really nice size for crafting. and really a creative way to make your own DIY sign like this cute little ghost silhouette. Now for the next DIY, I picked up another 11 by 14 photo frame from the Dollar Tree, some of their flexible cutting mats, and I thought we could try to make like a Halloween window. I was thinking I could do like a frosted effect with the flexible cutting mats, which are the exact same size as this frame from the Dollar Tree. It is a wood frame, and I do want it to look creepy for Halloween, so I'm definitely going to be painting the frame. So I just went ahead and removed that. I thought about using one of the little easel kits from the Dollar Tree for the wood to frame out the window, but then I needed something a little bit flatter. So I'm going to use some of these bamboo. I get these on Amazon and I've been using them for years. I finally ran out, so I had to buy some more. And so I had to buy from a different company, but they're little bamboo pieces and they're flat. So they're perfect for crafting. And I think that's going to make a perfect frame to make this look like a window. I'm just going to use my miter scissors to cut them down easily to make it fit. I want one to go from top to bottom, and I want one to go across to make a simple Halloween window. And I will be sure to update my Amazon shop with a current link to these little bamboo pieces. These will last for years, I'm sure. They're so fun to craft with, though. And I am going to make sure that it is centered here in the frame, so it's not too crazy. I wanted like 4 panels to my window, and I want to do like a little Halloween scene behind the window, kind of make it look like frosted glass using the flexible cutting mats from the Dollar Tree. Now, since I'm doing the wood here on the inside, it is going to take up a little bit of room, so I'm not going to use the glass because I don't really have room for it anymore. I'm just going to use the flexible cutting mats for the window itself. I guess you could add the framing to the top of the frame. I wanted it to be kind of hidden, kind of part of it, which is why I'm doing it here on the back of the frame. And again, trying to make sure everything is centered before I attach these little wood pieces, bamboo pieces, with hot glue. That framed it out pretty well. I am going to reinforce that with a little bit more hot glue. But again, at this point, with nothing there on the back, it is not super strong. So I'm just going to use as much hot glue as I can to kind of secure that. These frames are not large enough or thick enough to use a staple gun on. Otherwise, I probably would. But I am just going to paint that easily. I decided to use some black spray paint so that I didn't have to really press against those boards. But you could always use acrylic paint. I'm just going to go over the whole thing with some matte black spray paint. I really love painting everything for Halloween black. I just think it looks really creepy and really kind of makes it stand out from my other decor in my house. So I just went over everything. I'm trying to get on the sides of the frame, the sides of the bamboo that we added for the framing on the inside. And this is definitely one of the easiest window DIYs. A lot of times I will take like 4 frames from the Dollar Tree to make a window pane like this, but using the one big 16 by 20 frame like this from the Dollar Tree and just framing it out like this just made it so much easier, and it made it so much sturdier too, all being one piece. So I just kind of flipped this around, making sure that I painted it from every angle. So I got all of the edges, everything is going to be painted black. And then I just have to set this aside, let my spray paint dry on this. I do want to distress it too to kind of make it look old and creepy for Halloween. But I let that sit to dry, and then I'm going to go in and distress it. I mixed a little black and white acrylic paint together to make a gray paint that I can lightly distress the whole thing with. Again, trying to make sure that I keep this together. I don't want those little framing pieces coming off before I have a chance to put this whole thing together. So just lightly brushing that with a little chippy brush. And I get those chippy brushes on Amazon. Not super crazy over them. They do lose bristles, kind of like the Dollar Tree ones, so I wouldn't say that they're better. And then I'm going to go over it with a little bit more black just because I don't want it to be a gray frame. I just want it to be slightly distressed with gray to make it look older. And my plan is to make little silhouettes for all of the different window panels. So I picked up some black cardstock. at Walmart. It was pretty inexpensive, and I'm going to use my Cricut to cut out some silhouette shapes. Now, I couldn't get them all to fit on one sheet, so I'm going to have to do two sheets, but it's great to cut out cardstock with your Cricut machine. I will be sure to attach the SVG for all of these files. For this one, I did a witch silhouette, a black cat silhouette, and 3 bats. That will fill up 3 of the corners. And just kind of have to find a corner and lift your cardstock off of your mat. Whenever I do paper, I try to use my light grip mat in my Cricut Joy Extra. And I have one more sheet to cut down. This one is going to be a spider web. And I tried to size it appropriately for this to kind of go edge to edge. And I did a spider web with like a little spider. And look how cool the Cricut cuts that down. You could also use vinyl, I guess. I thought paper would work for this, and so I thought that would be really easy. So I just went ahead and cut them all out. So now I have an image for all 4 parts of the window. And then the flexible cutting mat, I told you it's the perfect size for this frame. I didn't have to cut it or anything. It's a perfect 16 by 20. And I just placed that in the frame as well. And then we're going to sandwich the little silhouette pieces behind it to make it look like frosted glass, but a silhouette. So we'll have a little witch talking to her black cat that's going to be sitting in the window. We could have a creepy spider web above her head. And we can have some bats flying around inside of her house too, because this is Halloween. Why not? And I thought that would be fun for the top part of it as well. And then I'm going to sandwich that in with the other flexible cutting mat like that. So it gives me a frosted glass look. If you wanted, you could even light this up. Instead of adding the back of it like I did, you could put some twinkle lights back here and have that like look like a lighted window. That would be cool too. But I just placed the original white sheet on the back of it, you know, the flipped over filler sheet, and put the back onto this. Now I wanted a window sill. I'm going to make a really easy one using that wooden easel kit from the Dollar Tree. I just took 2 pieces of those and cut those down a little bit so that I could attach those. So I glued one to the bottom so it still sits flat against the wall. And then I'm going to glue the second little wood piece right on top of it. A great source for craft wood. If you wanted to use the craft wood piece on its side, that would work too. And you could just glue one piece on. But that way it gives me a little bit of a windowsill that I can decorate for Halloween too, and gives it that window look. Now that I have it glued on, I'm going to go over it with some black acrylic and paint that. I always like to glue my wood on before I paint it. I find that the hot glue works a little bit better that way. And I'm just going to paint the little window ledge all over with the black paint to make it match my windowsill. And you can see the frosted glass effect that I got from using the flexible cutting mats. And you can see the little silhouettes of the Halloween shapes behind it, which is really fun. So I distressed the windowsill with a little bit of gray acrylic there too, to kind of go with the vibe of the frame. And then I wanted to decorate it. It's not a very big windowsill, but I can use some small items, I think, to distress it and make it look cool. I thought adding some of the brown floral moss would be creepy, so I just hot glued some of that on to kind of break up some of the black, and because I'm going to add some black spiders and different things to this to make it look creepy for witch's house here. But I definitely wanted to break up the black a little bit by adding some of the brown moss. I think reindeer moss would look fine too, but I really appreciate the brown for Halloween because it looks dead. And then I'm going to use a couple of little plastic spiders that I got on Amazon. Just very simple spiders. They're very similar to like the spider rings, but without the ring. And then this little toy kit from the Dollar Tree has a spider in it as well. I thought that would be creepy. And then a lizard I thought would be perfect for like a witch scene. So I'm just going to hot glue these onto the floral moss so they will stay put when I hang this on the wall for a little Halloween window. A little spider over on this side. Then I thought a bone would look really cute on this too. So I'm going to use one of the little plastic bones from the Dollar Tree and hot glue that on the little window ledge as well. Something creepy. And maybe move our lizard over a little bit so it's spaced a little bit better. And we have a creepy Halloween window with frosted glass, but did want to distress it to make it look old too. So I used the brown acrylic paint mixed together with water and sprayed that on there. I wasn't sure if I could distress the cutting mat like I can with glass and with a mirror, but I thought I would give it a go. So I very carefully kind of blotted that. It did kind of want to wipe off a lot. So I'm definitely going to have to add multiple coats to get the level of distressing that I want. But it did make it look creepier and old. So I kind of like that effect. And originally, I thought about definitely lighting it up. I think that would look cute. If you DIY this project and you light yours up from behind with some battery operated twinkle lights, be sure to share it with me. Our Facebook group, I would love to see that. I think that would look so cool. When you let it dry, it does age it, kind of make it look more brown. I definitely wanted a little bit more, so I added a third coat here of it and just kind of sprayed that on. Definitely a really easy way to age a project like this for Halloween to make it look really creepy. I found that the cat scene really wanted to wipe off a little bit too well, so I definitely had to add a few layers of paint on that to evenly distress that to make it match the rest of the Halloween window. And this is what it looks like when it is dry. It definitely aged it, but I still have that frosted glass effect that I was going for. And I love all the little Halloween shapes. I didn't glue those. I just kind of sandwiched those in between the plastic cutting mats and they all stayed in place, which was really good. And this is what it looks like hanging up. I think it's really fun. What do you guys think about this one? And that was 32 Halloween Dollar Tree DIYs I've made this year on my channel. Please let me know which DIYs were your favorite down in the comments below, or just come say hello. You can find me at Crafty Beach on YouTube on all social media, and this is my QR code if you would like to buy me a coffee. Enjoy the final reveal. so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. That always helps as a YouTube channel. And I would like to thank my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Amelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, Red Mama, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Mindy Hupp, Jenny, and Debbie Austin. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Mom member, just hit the join button on your phone or your computer next to today's video. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, a badge next to your name when you comment down below, and a shout out in every video. And if you've been crafting for Halloween, be sure to share your DIYs with us in our private Facebook group linked in the description of today's video, as well as chapters for all of the DIYs and any links that you might need. Now, if you would like even more Halloween crafting inspiration, I've got you covered. Be sure to check out one of these Halloween DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting!